Let me ask you some of the, who's suing her? I think that guy so to say, the rest people.
Mayor, I have 7 o'clock. Would you like to start the meeting? No. No, we have, okay. Can you all hear me? Okay. Testing 1, 2, testing. No, I don't.
We hear you, Mario.
Okay.
I hear you.
Yes. I hate this system. Mayor, at 7 o'clock, we can get the meeting started.
Good evening, everybody. This is our regular virtual meeting, Tuesday, July 6th.
There you go.
Good evening again. July 6th, our regular virtual meeting. We are all working on hotspots because we have no Wi-Fi here. Commissioner Samaria, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions, deletions?
Mayor, you need roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Roll call, Roseanne.
Mayor Virginia Hoffman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Judy Hammerberg,
Here.
Commissioner Art Gonzalez.
Here.
Present.
Commissioner McDonald Kennedy.
I'm here.
Commissioner Dan Mary.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any additions or deletions or withdrawals to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll continue. I'd like to have a moment of silence. Please stand silently for a moment of reflection and respect. Words cannot express the grief our community has experienced over the tragedy of the Champlain Towers South collapse on June 24th. We mourn the tragic loss of lives and injuries, and our deepest sympathies go out to the victims, their families, and friends. Likewise, we commend the heroic actions and courage of the rescue workers, volunteers, and government officials. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, before we get started, I'd just like to say, again, we apologize for some of the connectivity issues. This is not available within the log cabin for a standard Wi-Fi on hotspots. For those who are in attendance, if you can make sure that you lower your volume on the speaker so that we don't have the constant feedback as it relates with the Zoom call. We would appreciate it. And Commission, if you're going to speak, make sure you unmute yourself for the meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, the United States Declaration of Independence. Whereas the United States Declaration of Independence is the pronouncement adopted by the Second Continental Congress meeting in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on July 4th, 1776. And whereas the Lee Resolution for Independence was passed by the Second Continental Congress on June 2nd with no opposing votes. The Committee of Five had drafted the declaration to be ready when Congress voted on independence, and whereas John Adams, a leader in pushing for independence, had persuaded the committee to select Thomas Jefferson to compose the original draft of the document, which Congress edited to produce the final version. The declaration was a formal explanation of why Congress had voted to declare independence from Great Britain, more than a year after the outbreak of the American Revolutionary War. And whereas our founding fathers made it the centerpiece of policies and their rhetoric since then, it has become a well-known statement on human rights, particularly its second sentence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I, Virginia O. Halpin, Mayor of Florida, joined by the entire commission, do hereby issue this proclamation calling our community to recognize the 4th of July, Independence Day, a time to celebrate our beautiful land of the free and home of the brave. Thank you. Okay, Isabella Martinez. Isabella is a Girl Scout Silver Award Project Scout Park.
I'm going to ask you to unmute on your phone.
You know, you can take the microphone down and hand it and hold it for her and let her stand out here.
Yeah, you can come around.
Okay, wait, then the camera. Where does the camera light? Hi, my name is Isabella. I am a Girl Scout in Troop 739, and I'm working towards my Girl Scouts Silver Award project. My project is that I clean up Scout Park on 9th Street and restore it to its original glory. The city has already agreed to remove invasive plants. Once the invasive plants are removed, I want to add native plants such as kunzi for the Atala butterflies. After that, I want to replace the plaques that label the plants and create a nicer entrance to prevent people from driving in. And I would like to add mulch and art and add art in some form to the park. I will work with Parks and Parkway Advisory Board, Public Art Advisory Board, and city manager to do this project.
Thank you. Mario, you want to?
Absolutely. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Isabella has reached out to us on a number of different occasions trying to find a project for her Girl Scout Silver Award project. I believe she's already done a Bronze Award. This is her next step for Silver, and then I believe she told me she wants to go after the elusive Gold later down as well. So we are very excited. The Scout Park has been one area which many residents have reached out to the village to try to do something and bring it back to life. A lot of invasive species or vegetation has come into that park and has made it very difficult, and it's kind of made it unsightly in some areas. Since the initial concerns started coming into us, I've had police department increase their patrol in the area, and I've had our public works do a daily walkthrough to pick up any trash that might be thrown on the grounds. However, we could still do an extra step. Isabella would love to take this project, and I'm committed to working with her. She has already sat down with me for a little while, and she's going to be sitting down with Parks and Parkway, our advisory board, that have been able to go and get tree grants for the city to really see what is good for the Florida native and to help for a better butterfly garden over there. I believe we already have some water irrigation in the area. So we are kind of working towards that, but I know she's going to put together an effort, and I know she'll also probably be reaching out to the foundation so to see what we can get for donations and creating a community event. She spoke to me. I know she hasn't brought it up now, so I apologize if I'm stealing your thunder, Isabella. She mentioned she wanted to have a day where community members would come out and help with plantings or anything at the park. So it's not just her doing something, it's really a community engagement together. So I applaud her efforts, and I'm dedicated to helping her in the process. And it'll be a good community achievement for you as well. Thank you so much, Isabella, for taking this on.
Congratulations. Okay, Mario, you are going to do the introduction of our Public Works Manager?
Absolutely. Mayor, Vice Mayor, it is a pleasure to introduce, recently, Albert Dominguez was recommended to me for the Public Works Manager position. Albert comes to us with 14 years of public works and FDOT experience in the public sector. He comes with another 15 years in the private sector for construction management. He obtained his Bachelor of Science from the University of Florida in civil engineering. He has a slew of certifications, which include public manager programming, up to a level 3 and certification from DOT for value engineering. I'm sure there's a lot more. He's been out and about all day today, working, and I put him to the test on a lot of different issues. But I appreciate him coming on board. I just want to introduce Albert. He's standing up right now.
Welcome.
Albert, I don't know if maybe you want to say a couple words.
Yeah, we've got him from cutting trees.
Yeah, we've got him from cutting trees down to checking out new construction and everything in between.
I'll keep it short. I really, I want to thank the warm welcome that I received from the officials, from the neighbors that I've met, from the administration. I really, I feel very welcome. I feel like a nice family, a great family. One that originally I wasn't that familiar with because I didn't know very much about Biscayne Park. I knew a lot more about, say, Miami Shores, where my sister had a house for a while. I have best friends that live in Miami Springs, North Miami, of course, city of Miami. But I never knew this little gem that existed here. And it's a beautiful place. It looks like the Garden of Eden, to tell you the truth, with all your Edens and with all the polite people. So thank you very much for welcoming me and making me feel at home. I'm at your service 24/7, whatever you need, anything that's in my capacity, my ability. Count on me as one of you all. Okay? One of you all.
Welcome, Albert.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kennedy is going to issue a certificate of recognition to Jocelyn Moffett.
So I just wanted to take you want to mute yourself.
So
it's nice to take a moment
sometimes
to
to
say
say thank you to village residents who do something
nice.
and tonight is one of those occasions.
Jocelyn Morphy is here this evening with her wife, Tasha. And for the second
consecutive year, Jocelyn took it upon herself to raise funds to hold our own village pride parade during International June LGBTQ Pride Month. In doing so, Jocelyn gave village residents and neighbors from surrounding communities and really all over South Florida. I met people from so many different places. It was really cool to see. Gave us all an opportunity to celebrate love and inclusivity. The parade boasted more than 200 people on bikes, cars, and floats, including lots of village children and grandchildren, residents of all ages and sexual orientations. Commissioner Gonzalez and I were there representing the village as well. The streets were lined with folks cheering us on, including village police in their rainbow pride hats, which was really especially cool. So I want to thank Commander Roman for making that happen for us as well. Jocelyn, you showed us that love is universal, and you gave us a reason to be proud of one of our exceptional residents this month. Congrats on a job well done, and thanks from this commission on behalf of our diverse community of accepting and loving neighbors. Let me read the proclamation to you. In certificate of recognition for Jocelyn Morphy for organizing Biscayne Park's enormously successful second annual Gay Pride Parade on Saturday, June 12th, a local community building event that marked International Pride Month and gave village
Okay, I'd like to open the floor up now to public comments related to agenda items. Does, some of this will not be recorded. It'll be if.
David Raymond, yes.
Hello. Hey, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sound, just to let you know, the sound on our end is either echoing or now I'm muted again. Am I back? Back, sort of, maybe. Can you hear me now? Yes, okay. So first of all, thank you very much for finally getting the drains done here. I really want to thank Mario for getting this accomplished. It's been 6 years, and I can tell you all the rain we've had in the last few days, my driveway and my steps up to my house are not flooded. So thank you for that. And I know that it's a lot of work to get that done. I appreciate it. And I know as well that people are asking now, how did you get that done? When are they going to get to our street? So I think it would really be, when you do the budget this year, it'd be great if you do have a list of capital improvement projects to maybe put, list those out in the budget. The other couple of things in terms of tonight's agenda, I know you have an item on there, 10A, regarding swimming pools. We do not have a swimming pool. We hope to have a swimming pool at some point soon. We're pursuing that. And I think it's great that you're going to have an ordinance like that. I just was looking at it and I saw the fines in there, which are $250 a day, and also allowing the code officer to come in and board up somebody's pool. I can understand that during the construction process. I think once people are in the house, I'm not sure that may be a little stringent in terms of coming out and boarding up somebody's property. I'm not sure if they are going to do that with some kind of training as to how they board up a swimming pool or what they're going to do about it. But I'll let you guys deliberate that. But what it did raise with me is the issue of the fines. Back a few months ago, you all were talking about code violations and having some escalating fines in there. And that item seems to have just either disappeared or I missed what happened with it. So I'm just going to encourage you to maybe take that up again, because we continue to have an issue with cats, with feral cats in the area. I know this is a sensitive topic, and I also can say that we have personally, and through the Miami Veterinary Foundation, spayed and neutered over 50 cats and kittens from the area and adopted out some litters of kittens as well. But we still have people here who are not fixing their cats, not deworming their cats, and it is a health issue for people. People can get hookworm. This week, our dog got hookworm, $600 later for vet visits. She's finally feeling better, but I hope that you can take a look at those code issues and the escalating fines for some of the other issues. Thank you very much.
Can you mute yourself, sir?
Hi, my name is Victor Diego Armengol, address 922 Northeast 109th Street. I grew up in Biscayne Park. I'm currently out of state as a student, but I just wanted to voice my continued support for agenda items 10A and 10B. We have had a construction project ongoing for many years next door that, has a pool that has not been, covered, and it's unsightly and, dangerous. And especially now that we'll be having a lot of rain this season, it's paramount that be fixed and hopefully fixed for future construction projects. So thank you. And yeah, I just support 10A and 10B.
Should we continue with the people online? Okay. Next one is Hannah McDougall. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Okay. Hello, my name is Hannah McDougall. I don't know should I be speaking, if it's not an agenda item, if it's a discussion item, should I be speaking now? Okay. So hi, my name is Hannah McDougall. I am here representing Pelican Harbor Seabird Station. I had the pleasure of meeting Commissioner Gonzalez last month when I gave him a tour of our facility. So for those who are not familiar with us, we are a wildlife rehabilitation center over on 79th Street. We are 40 years old. In that time, we've treated over 37,000 different wild animals. We're rapidly growing with a 20% increase in patients in 2020 alone. And we're projected to treat 2,500 patients this year with daily operating costs exceeding $2,500. And since 2019, we've admitted over 55 patients from the village of Biscayne Park. This includes eastern screech owls to blue jays, great egrets, red-bellied woodpeckers, and currently we have 2 mockingbirds in care that were found after they fell from their nest and actually were attacked by feral cats. So at $379 per patient, this is over $20,000 invested in the care of Biscayne Park's native wildlife. So we're really encouraging all municipalities to help to kind of cover these costs as well as engage with us as an organization. Our mission, of course, is saving wildlife, but education is also really the core of what we do. So beyond, providing the service to your community, we would really like the relationship to be mutually beneficial. So we offer along, obviously with the animal care public releases. These are a great opportunity to engage your community as well as get some great PR. We actually just did a release with Mayor Gelber that made it to the front page of the Miami Herald. We also will table at community events, another amazing way to engage, teach people about what we do, conservation, biodiversity, and there they'll be able to meet our ambassador animals, which are a couple of non-releasable patients that help to educate the public. As well as tickets to our annual gala, our fundraising gala, the Pelican Party. So kind of lots of different aspects. So I really hope that you'll be able to join us in this partnership. And I'm excited. They say it takes a village, so I hope that your village will be able to assist us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, you guys, I truly could not hear you. I'm so sorry. Janie Anderson, 11th place and 119th Street. Well, if there were any doubts how badly we need upgraded AV equipment at the log cabin, and really about a year ago, tonight has kind of clinched that. But I'm still going to go out on a limb and say, if there is any way to get the funds from somewhere other than the digitization, please try. Digitization is one of those many things that we have been kicking the can down the road for more years than I can remember. It's 2021 and we're married to paper, which has to be laborious for staff. It's frustrating for residents and it's a space issue. So if there was any way we could accomplish both, they're both very meaningful. Public meeting access. Probably the one good thing to come out of COVID is we were dragged, in some cases kicking and screaming, into the 21st century to have remote access meetings. And it's crucial not only that those continue for commission meetings, but for board meetings. The more we can make our meetings accessible to the public, the more informed public we have, the more aware public we have, we're that much stronger a community. And speaking of attending meetings, Mac and Art, thank you so much for being regular attendees at code meetings. I like seeing commissioners see things for themselves firsthand. It's much appreciated. As far as like the time and location of meetings, I mean, that's got to really be flexible. There's certainly going to be times when, for example, Parks and Parkways does have to meet in the daytime, does have to meet outdoors. We meet regularly the second Monday of every month, but we occasionally have to have special meetings. And in that case, we try to bump the meeting up earlier so it's staff not having to be here so late. What's most important than what time the meetings are is that they be properly noticed and publicized. I'm sorry, Code changes for driveways. Oh, please don't anybody say that this is rushing it through. This is something that has been in the works for over 6 years. Now, I'm not necessarily thrilled about a moratorium on driveway and swale maintenance, because those are two of our biggest eyesores. But if you guys can commit, well, let's face it, if there was a timeline 6 years ago, you probably wouldn't have to be having this discussion. But if you can commit to a timely completion and some substantive changes, then it's worth having the moratorium. Pledge of Allegiance, that is so cute. What a neat little idea. It's an all-inclusive, feel good, get more people involved and acknowledge sort of thing that I think we can all get behind. Thank you.
Jean Reed.
Hi, good evening. Hi, I'm Jenny Reed. I'm at 820 Northeast 115th Street. My comments tonight are, I absolutely echo my endorsement of all public meetings should be remote accessible. It's my only way of attending, and I've only attended since COVID started, and I would love to be able to continue to attend. So the investment in technology, I think, is critical, and I hope that that's something that the group takes forward. I'm going to give my comments on pools because I don't know if I can make it through the meeting. There's a really long agenda, but we are about to embark on a home reconstruction, and I am all for pool safety, so that's not my concern. However, I'm concerned that all other options for keeping the pool safe have been removed, and it seems that the only option being put forward is that a wood covering be put over it. I don't see the ability to maintain the pool in a good chemical state, which means the water is circulating and active and is not a mosquito haven. So a solid wood covering seems to be the most expensive option. It's the most onerous on a homeowner. Our pool is 20 by 40 feet big. It is not a small thing. We're not the only one with a big pool, so it is a big undertaking. The fact that no other option is allowed feels unfair, frankly. Pools are meant to be filled, and if we have to empty ours for a prolonged period of time, I'm frankly concerned about the damage that's going to happen to the pool. That's my number one thing around that. I know there was also separate ordinances that any pool would have to be specifically fenced during construction. And so I don't see the removal of that if it's also covered by wood, if that ends up being the final state. So just really not clear, but it just seems like we're overkill on the pool side. We're also taking a surface that currently absorbs water and covering it up and making it watertight, and now it won't absorb any water. So the runoff from I have an 800 square foot area that suddenly would no longer accept water. You know, you've got to think about where's that rain and all that stuff going to go. So it just doesn't make sense. I would ask of at least if we could have the option to keep a pool running and maintained during construction, if that exists, adequately fenced. That would be my hope. And lastly, regarding the whole code compliance, I don't really understand it. There were a lot of attachments that were quite lengthy, so I'm not sure what to take from it, but I will say a occupancy certificate that is valid for 60 days seems unnecessarily short. Closing on a house could take 3 months depending on getting financing or whatever, and to have it be valid for 60 days, I kind of ask why. So it seems that that part of it, if that is meant to apply to some future way that we work or work today, it seems like it could be longer without hurting anything. So those are my comments.
Yes, it's very difficult to hear staff. Staff is so muted, you can't really tell that we're next in line. But what my concern is 10A, which has to do with the swimming pool. I don't believe your fine should be in the ordinance. It should be in the resolution. Because if you ever want to change whatever that fine is, whether you have steps to it multiple times of infractions, etc., to go to the expense of have to write a whole ordinance again, it's better to have fines in a resolution. on the 10B, which has to do with them demolishing buildings. The way I read it, it's only if you are clearing the property, demolishing the building 100% so nothing is left there. You can't get that permit until you go ahead and have plans, approved plans and a permit of what you want to be putting on that property. What we have is a lot of structures around here that contractors are going in and demolishing part of that building and then take about a year to go ahead and come back to whatever they're planning to do to continue. So I believe this should be where any demolishing of a building, not the whole building, whatever you're taking down, before you can get this permit to demolish that part of the building, you need to then have an approved plan and permits of what you're putting back on to that property. You know, and I don't see really that much of a problem if somebody wants to go ahead and demolish a building that they can't take care of and it's falling apart and put it into a park-like setting until they can get some money or sell that ground to put, somebody else can put a building there. But as long as it's park-like setting, I don't see why we should be stopping somebody from taking a building and put it into a park-like setting and be allowed to do that, even though they don't have plans for what they're going to be putting there, because maybe they don't, maybe they can't afford it. Maybe what they want to do is to sell that property and let somebody else go ahead and decide what's appropriate to be putting on there. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Alexander Bernhard, 1015. I don't think that's on.
Hard to see if it's working.
Yeah.
Tap hard on the mic. No, it's not.
Money's approved tonight. Money's approved tonight. The item. For waiving.
Mario, you got another one? The microphone's not working.
No, it's probably on the volume side. Give me a second. Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2.
So again, Alexander Bernhard, 1015 Northeast 120th Street. A couple of comments on agenda items. First one is to commend the commission and our manager, Mario, for getting more done in the last 6 months than I've seen get done in the last 5 years. So just, wanted to commend you all for that. I do think it's a great idea to engage members of the community in doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I think that's a great idea. I've had the opportunity to comment on through P&Z on driveways and schools, but I don't want to get too much into that, other than the fact that with respect to the driveways and the swales, it's something that's pretty critical to the village. So we do really need to take a close look at that in terms of aesthetics, flood mitigation, and heat island reduction. I do hope that we continue to do meetings via Zoom. It provides accessibility to a lot of residents that wouldn't otherwise have it, including myself in many cases. So I do think that we've seen record participation. I really hope that we continue to engage in this way. With regards to Pelican Harbor, I've actually myself brought an injured bird there several years ago. Nobody wanted to take it except for them. So I do think that we should absolutely support them. I thank Art for engaging with them, and I do support that. My son is actually going on a field trip there in a couple of weeks. So I I've lived in Biscayne Park since 2016, and during my time on the C&Z board, who, by the way, is an outstanding group of highly qualified individuals, residents, I quickly realized that Biscayne Park has many opportunities to minimize and reverse our contribution to changing climate. Not only because of the ecological impact, but much more importantly, because of the human impact on our community. So I wrote a letter to the commission a couple of weeks ago, talking about my interest in becoming a part of the ecology board. You'll see that in the agenda, so I don't want to get too much detail there. I'm certified lead green associate, and I've been involved in climate change mitigation for many years. And I'm well aware of not only the challenge, but the solution. We can do a lot here in the village. We have a responsibility to take our seat at the table. All of the villages around us in the city have been doing this, and it's time that we do it as well. And we really need to leave the world a better place for our children and future generations and our community. We have a gem here that needs to be taken care of, and we can do a lot. It seems like a daunting task, but there's a lot that we can do, and I look forward to giving the opportunity to serve on the ecology board. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that wants to speak?
Hold on, Mayor. I'm looking here.
You want to speak? Okay. Do your name and your address.
Speak right into it loud. You can turn it off. Take it off. Pull it up.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay, just
Speak loud.
Hi, I'm Katie. I also came here to just introduce myself. I'm also an applicant to serve on the ecology board, if elected, or I don't have a beautiful speech or awesome things to say like this gentleman over here, but I do support all the things that he just said. And I also support Pelican Harbor. I also have brought, I don't even know how many birds, but I do donations, but I think it would be a really good thing, to support that organization because it's really great, and they are the only ones really in this area that, will take in injured animals. And we do obviously provide some good canopy and support that type of habitat. I also really into butterfly garden. The kids and I ride down to the butterfly garden all the time. And again, we're always out there, and I think people are going to come yell at us because we're removing the exotic. And unfortunately, it's really not even becoming a butterfly. It's turning not into a butterfly garden anymore because everything is being shaded out. All the butterfly attracting plants are being shaded out. So that is one thing also that we could talk about and be happy. My Girl Scout group would be happy to join your Girl Scout group to really support that. And I'm totally into that. It would help to do canopy reduction in the butterfly garden and bring in some of these plants that could attract the butterfly. Because it is a cute little spot, and I really like that we have these little nooks here in the park. But again, I submitted my application. I'm here if you guys have any questions for me, and I hope I can serve the village. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, we have Dan Schneider.
Wait, you got one more here.
Okay, this gentleman's talking first. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just a second. Schneider.
Hello.
Louder, please.
Hello. Oh, perfect. Hello.
Speak loud and right.
Hello.
There you go.
Everyone, my name is Will. I live at 670 Northeast 14th Street. Thanks for having me. I moved into the village last year with my wife and our son. And I'm also interested in joining the ecology board. I think regardless of monitor, not a great idea to have a group that can kind of help advise the village with regards to how we can, as a community, be best stewards of our environment. I think one of our greatest assets really, everything you're doing to involve the community. I think it's really unique neighborhood we have here in the village, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Thank you.
I guess, Mrs. Schneider?
Dan,
Dan Schneider?
Yeah, can you
Dan,
hear
did you
me?
want to talk? Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Can you hear me? Hello, is there anyone there?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You know, you guys have to do something about this because you're supposed to be providing accommodation to people to watch this online, and it's not happening. I can't hear anything. I can't see anything. I don't understand how you can hold a public meeting when you're obligated to provide people with access. People right now who are listening to this and watching this do not have access to this meeting. I don't understand how you can continue with it. I was planning on saying something, but I don't know if I'm even on right now. And what I wanted, I'll go ahead and say it. I wanted to say something about the Pledge of Allegiance. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's a feel-good measure that anyone should be able to get on board with. It's just, I remember when I was a kid, my dad was on the planning commission and I used to go to meetings with him and I thought it was the coolest thing. They stood up at the beginning and they said the Pledge of Allegiance. And I just think it'd be fantastic if we could get people from the community, get Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, first responders, all sorts of people from the community. I mean, we live in a community where it's small enough that people can really get involved. So let's get people in there to the log cabin and let's get people involved. And I think that is such a great feel-good way to do it, especially in a time right now when this country is so divided. Have people come in there. We all say the Pledge of Allegiance. We're in this together. I think anyone should be able to get on board with that. I hope you guys heard me. I have no idea if you did because I can't hear anything you're saying. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Any commissioners have any comments or reports? Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah. Well, first we have to have response to the residents. That's the next thing on the agenda.
I'm sorry?
First we do response to the residents.
Yes, well, that's
Yes.
the same.
Well, you said reports, that's a different section, but okay, so response to the residents. Can you guys hear me? Because I got bumped off.
No, I don't see.
I'm not online, I got
I
bumped.
can hear you.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna talk.
Art, you want to mute yourself? So we can
I'm
hear
not
you?
on, I'm not in the meeting. I
Yeah,
can't get in.
that's why I'm asking him to unmute himself, sir.
Say that again?
So that we can hear.
What is it? What do you want?
Our
Commissioner Gonzalez, if you can unmute yourself because Commissioner Kennedy was kicked out somehow from the meeting. So while he tries to come back on so that we can hear him speak.
Okay.
I think she meant for you to go while I try to get back on.
Yes. Through his microphone? I thought you.
Okay.
Until I get back into the meeting. Okay, so I want to just respond to a couple of things
to some of the residents.
First of all, it's nice to meet the people who came to
introduce themselves for the ecology board. That's very nice of you to do that. Regarding the, oh geez, I lost my notes here. I want to, Jenny Reed, I hope you can stay until the, I feel like I'm talking into the air because I can't see anything or hear anything. But Jenny Reed, I hope you can stay for the pool section of I don't know what else to do, but I can't stay in the meeting and.
Can you talk on Art's mic?
It was working, but now I don't know. I don't know. Mine's working. Is mine
I can
working?
hear you.
You can hear me?
I can hear him. Now she's hearing.
Okay,
She can-
Jenny, stay for the pool section if you can, please, because I think some of your concerns will probably be answered. Because it sounds like maybe there was some confusion there about a couple of things. And Bob Anderson, I hope you stay for that section as well. I know you will. You're here till the end every time. We appreciate that. Because the demo permit is attached to a building permit, and the demo permit does not, I don't believe, and we'll have Valerie make sure that's clarified for us. I don't believe it's demo of a complete structure. It's a demo permit at all. So a demo permit can be for a partial demolition of a building. So a demo permit is a demo permit. It doesn't need to be the full building if that was your concern. And that's it. Thanks. I'm gonna get back in this damn meeting.
I'd like to speak. Are you finished? Okay, Commissioner Hamel. All right, as far as the pool ordinance goes, you guys hear me? Okay, as far as the pool ordinance goes, it is for houses that are, and pools that are not occupied, and pools that are under construction, but where there's nobody living on the property is what our intent was. So that's where we were going with it. For Hannah, I want to thank you very much from Pelican Harbor. I have been a supporter of Pelican Harbor for more than 30 years since they rescued an animal for me. And I know Chris well, and I've been to your property, but I also want to mention to people that you now have a new house. You are moving to a new property and you do need more assistance now than you've needed before. I have been a supporter. I've been at almost all of the fundraisers, and I'm the lady who donated all the glass including the glass pelican that I believe is hanging in your station now. So I've done them many times, and I always donate many, many items of my glass artwork. And I think we should all support with our stuff and with our money, and I'm all for it.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez, do you want to speak?
No.
Okay, how about Commissioner Samaria? Would you like to speak?
I'm gonna give my report when we get to the report.
Okay. I'd like a motion for the consent agenda.
No, we gotta give reports.
Oh, you want to, I called on you. Go ahead, Commissioner Samaria.
I want to do a report.
I would like to express my. Can everybody hear me? I'd like to express my thoughts and opinions on how board meetings are conducted. I had the opportunity to attend three board meetings.
Code Board Chairperson Gary Kuehl, P&Z Board Chairperson Gary Harkin, and Parks and Parkway Chairperson Barbara Kuehl. In each meeting with a lengthy full agenda, all board members were able to review each agenda item and come to a decision and move on. There's no reason that this commission meeting cannot be conducted in the same process matter. The difference is the chairperson of these boards control the meetings to keep it running smoothly. Our mayor does a fairly good job on trying to run the meeting. This slows the meeting down. The previous commission decided that each commissioner be allowed to have 5 minutes to express themselves on the agenda item under discussion. Some commissioners choose to discard the 5-minute rule by going on and on and on and ignoring the mayor's attempt to move on giving other commissioners the opportunity to express their ideas. There's no reason that agenda list that comes before the commission should take over 4 hours when board members' agendas are twice as long and they end in less than 3 hours. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hammelberg.
All right, thank you. I want to let everybody know that our little resident Jacob that we have been donating blood for is finished with his chemotherapy and no longer needs our blood donations. Hopefully he's pulled through the worst of it. That's a good thing. And I also want to note for anybody who is a renter in our community who needs rental assistance, Miami-Dade County has extended the time to apply for rent assistance to July the 9th. If you are a resident of Miami-Dade County and you are renting here, please contact Sally Heyman's office before the 9th and see if you can get rental assistance if your ability to pay your rent has been affected by COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez, you have a report?
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify something that I said at the last commission meeting in reference to the brick walkway that has yet to be installed here at the log cabin. I said that the foundation had a credibility issue. In the same sentence, I said that it was not their fault. First, I just want to clarify that the foundation has no credibility issue. On the contrary, the foundation has always done, and I have no doubt that we'll continue to do a great job for the village. The credibility issue lies on the former commission and on the current commission. When the foundation raises money for the village, it is the commission's responsibility to make sure that the money is used and that what it was intended for, the work that actually gets done. So I'd like to apologize to the foundation for that statement.
Not a problem, Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Kennedy, you have a report?
I don't have a report per se, but there are several residents who can't get into the meeting and wanted to make comment. And I know we can't go back and do it now, but it's really unfortunate that people are texting me live during the meeting to say they can't hear, they can't see, and they can't engage in the meeting. So I know we're going to take steps towards correcting that tonight, but just for the record, Elizabeth Martinez and Geronimo Pizarro both wanted to speak here this evening, and I won't speak for them. I know what they wanted to say, but I won't speak for them. Dan, to your report, I'm not sure what that even was. But we could all probably make suggestions about how meetings could go more smoothly, and it would start for me with people arriving prepared, understanding the topics that are in front of them, having done their homework before they got here, and quite frankly, being able to follow a conversation.
Clearly.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to accept.
Okay, Commissioner Hammelberg makes the motion. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Gonzalez. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Everybody is in favor. Okay, we're up to the ordinances, ordinance 2021-07, pool water maintenance and covering, first reading. Ed?
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending section 11.9, swimming pools of chapter 11, accessory structures of the Biscayne Park Land Development Code to provide for maintenance standards and requirements for swimming pool water, providing for enforcement, providing for penalties, providing for the imposition of liens, providing for abatement, amending section 18.3, responsibilities of owners, occupants, and users of construction sites for security and maintenance of chapter 18 of the Biscayne Park Land Development Code entitled Construction, to require that all swimming pools located on an unoccupied property within a construction site be covered by a wood cover, and eliminating the ability for said swimming pools to be maintained during construction, providing for enforcement, providing for penalties, providing for the imposition of fines, of liens, providing for abatement, providing for inclusion in the code and scrivener's errors, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Public comments are open on that now. Is there anyone that would like to make any comments on that ordinance? I guess Jenny Reed.
Hello, thank you again. I stated mine. I didn't expect it to come so quickly, so thank you, but I'll just restate that the only option of a wood covering seems unfair, and I would love the option to have a well-maintained pool. I am not a distant homeowner or a developer who's looking to like turn a house around and sell it. I'm an active homeowner looking to manage my home, and I will not be far away from the construction site, but I will have to move out. And to that be my only option is not fair. Enough said.
So is there any other comments? Is there any other comments on that? David Raymond.
Yes. Hello again. I know I said this before, but I just was taking a look at this. And what I heard Judy say a few minutes ago is that this only pertained to construction, but somehow I'm not reading it that way, because it looks like, and this is pulled out of, parts of the code. So it looks like this is regular maintenance as well as the construction phase. That anytime you have a pool, it's also subject to these same rules about boarding and the fines and the whole thing. Maybe I'm reading this out of context, but it's section 11.9 seems to be just the regular maintenance of swimming pools. So I definitely do not agree with some of the extreme measures on that. I do think people should have to keep their pools clean. I don't think that people coming into your yard and reporting your swimming pool and checking the water clarity, unless there's something really up with your pool, is something that's necessary, and also $250 a day for a fine like that if somebody says your pool water's dirty. Again, the construction part I understand, but so I'm hoping maybe you could just clarify from the start, is this only construction, or is this once you have your pool built as well? Thank you.
Mario, can you clarify that for?
I'll be happy to. The water clarity pertains to every swimming pool within the village. You have to maintain water quality. If you don't do so, then you're subject to notification to get it fixed. If you don't fix it, you're subject to a fine. If you don't correct the violation, the village has the option, although it's very severe, to either go in and make your pool clean or to board it. And that's the way we were directed to write that. As far as the construction phase is concerned, again, that was the direction of the village commission, that in the event that there's any pool that's on a property that's uninhabited, that it must be boarded during construction.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Bob Anderson, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I just want to say what I've already said, basically, that the fine should be not in an ordinance, it should be in a resolution. We've run into problems before. We had fines in ordinances and we needed to get them changed, and it was very expensive to do it. That's why most fines are in ordinances, or in resolutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we have a motion on the ordinance 2021-07?
I'll make a motion to open it for discussion.
We just discussed it.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay,
go ahead, Vice Mayor Hammelberg.
is there a way, Ed?
You're muted.
Is there a way, Ed, for us to do it in so that during the construction phases, we give some period that it, while it's being constructed, it can't be covered? The intent was for the vacant properties that are sitting there vacant. Is there a way to specify that in there?
If you direct me how you would like that to go. I understand what Ms. Reed's saying, but I think that's the exception rather than the rule, based upon the conversations that we've had, that most of the time, once construction is commenced on the property, there's nobody living there, and that's what you wanted to protect against, so that nobody would fall into an empty swimming pool when no one's around to supervise it. If you want to change that in some fashion, please just let me know, and we'll be able to do that between first and second reading.
I don't know how to. I don't.
What? Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, is there any
other discussion?
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye, Joel. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Oh, you're
I'm sorry,
on.
I'm back in. Okay. So our attorneys did exactly what we asked them to do. They listened very carefully to our conversation. They took our intent and turned it into words that completely deliver on our intent. One of the issues is building a home that is lived in and the water is not treated. They don't take care of their pools, and that we end up with a muck pond in the middle of Biscayne Park, and they've got to take care of it. And the measure, and I talked to Valerie about this by email, the measure is water clarity, that's the measure, that's the standard that's used. That determines if the water is being taken care of properly. So it makes perfect sense. Also, just to remind you that P&Z passed this. P&Z agreed with this completely. They made some comments on stuff. So for what it's worth, P&Z is on board with this.
The other thing is
construction, and that is a building, and this only pertains to a property where no one's living during the construction phase, and it is a measure of safety. Guys, remember that when a major renovation is going on or new construction, it's a huge item. They're spending a lot of money on it. This is not a big ask for them to protect, to secure a pool. And we do have cases in the village right now where we have exposed pools that are violating all of this, and they are an actual genuine hazard. My only comment about this, and this is a question for I guess for all of you, P&Z did make a very good comment about this. They agreed with it all. They said, do it. They made some other notes about some stuff we can talk about if you want to, but they did point out that in the same section, 11.9.3, that there is some very specific language about fences, about the kind of fences that are allowed. And we do allow other fences. So they suggested, we have two P&Z board members here, by the way. They suggested that we look at 11.9.3 to extend the definition of the fence in that section, because right now they are approving fences that don't meet that standard. Is that correct, guys? Yeah. So while we're in here, I think we should ask let's see what Ed has to say about this.
So you're telling me that the code enforcement board's not going along with the code? Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
These are the only ones that are permitted under our code. If they're permitting something else, that's not correct. This is only for construction.
No, this is about
For
pools.
swimming pools. I'm
This is
sorry,
about
I apologize.
pools.
You're right.
This is about pools, and we do permit
Yeah.
other. Oh, I wish these. Sure. You know, that's right.
You either have a wall or a chain link fence.
Because I have a metal fence around my
Barriers
pool.
for Miami-Dade code. There's other fences.
That's around my.
Vinyl fences.
So that's what it is, that it's that section says specifically two kinds of fences around the pool. And I'm out of the meeting again, so I don't know if anyone's hearing me.
Okay, can we have a motion to pass this, or if anybody else want to speak?
No.
You want to make a comment?
I have comments, yes. Mr. Attorney, the P&Z had a couple questions, and one of the questions I had too, and I think it's a couple good questions. Does the code officer have the authority to enter property to inspect a pool if they do not have permission from the owner?
No.
That's what I thought. The second one, what is the village liability if we cover a pool per the new ordinance? Does the village become liable if anything happens after it is covered, a child gets in?
If the village takes that action and does so negligently, then it could be liable for any damages that are caused. Just as if a contractor negligently constructed it. But Trust me, it'll be alleged in the complaint.
That's right.
Okay, are you finished?
And, no, I think that's about it.
Is that it, Commissioner Scenari?
Let me respond to that real quickly, if I may, because the liability thing it's a thing.
You're muted. You're muted.
The liability concern.
I mean, we're covering up a pool to protect someone from falling in the pool. So the greater danger, right? So the greater danger is the pool there exposed and someone wandering in and falling
to the pool. And this is solving that problem.
Okay.
But I think if we're, I think it's worth adding wording to 11.9.3 here while we're in there, and we can do that at first reading. We can ask the attorney to amend that, so it comes back at second reading. It was a good catch by P&Z, and I think we should listen to them.
Okay.
Who's going to maintain it? Once it's installed, okay, just let it sit there for 6 months and the wood rots out.
Then we're going to have to go in and take care of it. Look, you know, this is the thing we're talking exceptions again.
Yeah, I think this,
Yeah, we could
can
take
we-
any rule and parse it like that.
can we have a motion to pass this?
What other?
But Judy, would you be, since it's your motion, would you be interested in amending it to have
Sure.
the attorneys work on 11.9.3?
Sure.
Can we handle that?
Ed, is that okay? We can do that at this point?
Okay,
If
do
you
you have that, Roseanne, amendment to the motion?
Clarify exactly what types of fences we're permitting. Because right now, as Max said, it's only those 2 types of fences.
I wish I could find it right now. I can't get in.
It says wood.
Mr. Attorney,
Mr. Attorney, around the fences residents have, aren't those fences acceptable? Or we have to have wood fences? I want to be able to have the same kind of fence around a pool that the residents are allowed under our code in Dade County. Is this under Dade County's code? Are we following Dade County's, or are we just making our own?
This is our code. Right now, all it reads is the fence or wall that's around pools shall be constructed of concrete block or 2-inch chain link galvanized wire with top rail. If you can specify which types of fences you believe are permissible, we can include that for second reading.
I would.
Can you verify that that they're all okay legally for to be around pools before you put them in second reading?
Yeah, what P&Z said was wood, PVC, and metal. Are those the only other ones that you'd recommend?
I would, Mayor and Commission, in that I would probably recommend, as this is relating to fences around pools, that we take a look at the Florida Building Code, because they have very specific language as to what's allowed around the pool, and we can't do something in lieu of the Florida Building Code. So we could, I'm not even sure if we can be stricter. We can be more restrictive than the Florida Building Code, but we can't be less. So we'd have to kind of verify with what the Florida Building Code allows for that area, and then just make sure that we're in the same line.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. When we just, and would you do okay if you amended the motion to something like that, that you would add to it based on Florida Building Code?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Mario, as far as our staff going on to these properties and actually putting in these covers, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. If the resident or the person that owns the property is not doing it, we're pretty much gonna have to go in there and do it, right? Mario, so who exactly do we have that even has that capacity? First question. And the second question, can we outsource this and then pass that bill along to the resident or to the person that owns the property?
So
I don't feel comfortable with our staff doing it.
I don't feel comfortable with it either. And it's a concern that I raised at the last commission meeting. I don't believe we have the resources, so we would probably look for a contractor to come and do something. we would have to pay for that invoice and then pass that bill on, whether it's through a fine or a code lien on the property. But as we've seen with other liens, that might be years before we see anything actually come back. So we would essentially be fronting those costs ahead with the hopes that we get reimbursed.
Do we have you spoken to anybody and even gotten an idea of what something like this would even cost?
Not at the moment, no, sir.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, and I'm sorry, Commissioner Gonzalez. So you finished? Okay, thank you. On this code this ordinance is this done under the Florida code? Meaning, is it below what is required by the construction of the Dade County and Florida code? If it's not, then we should be following the code.
There's nothing in the Florida building code that talks about clarity of water in pools. It doesn't have anything to do with that. With respect to fences, I don't have the answer to that.
Before I can support this item, I need to have that answered.
Between now and second reading to make sure that we're in compliance.
One more question, Ed. You mentioned that we can't go onto the property unless the property owner allows us to go on the property, right?
Unless we get a warrant.
Okay, so we would need a warrant to actually get into the property and actually get this thing built.
That's correct.
And how easy of a process is that?
Not very. You know, you'd have to have competent substantial evidence that there is a violation and it affects the health, safety, and welfare.
There's also a cost to that too.
Have to go to a judge. Somebody's going to have to pay for that.
Yeah. So it's starting to get expensive.
But I would say, Commissioner, that this type of abatement procedures are in a lot of city codes. Not that they use them very often, but it is a tool in the event that there's something that's really egregious.
Right.
You know, that manager, or the code folks or the code compliance board says this is so egregious that we need to take those types of steps. So you have that available. The chances of you using it on a regular basis are probably slim in them.
Let me respond to that. That's very well put. I'm glad you said it that way, Ed, because we need to all remember this is not something that they're going to whip out of Mario's going to whip out of his back pocket once a week and go cover somebody's pool. This is in these extreme cases where they need to be able to do something. We've got to get Mario, we've got to arm him with the ability to do something when he needs to get it done. That's what this is about. When it's in the code, contractors also know it's in there. So they see that coming. They know what's going on, and we can make sure they're clear on that as well. But I think this is important because what you're forgetting is what we're trying to do is save a life. And the day that
someone dies in one of these pools in the village, and we all have to sit here and look at each other and say, wow, we could have passed that ordinance, and really maybe in this horrible, egregious situation, we actually could have done something. We're going to feel really bad. I lived across the street from a property in North Miami where they came in and did this for a very good reason. And they took it upon themselves. It is not a big ticket item to come and build one of these things over a pool. And certainly our staff is not going to do it. Mario will find a competent contractor to do it. Probably someone who builds these things. These things do get built. So that's Mario's job. He'll find someone to do it right. But I think we need to give him the tools to get things done properly. And we need to stop letting people take advantage of this village, quite frankly. And that's what's going on around here as well. I'm prepared to vote for this thing, Judy, if you'll amend your motion to allow them to work on the fence section in 11.9.3.
The motion was amended by Judy.
Did she amend it?
Yes.
I will amend it to include all fences under South Florida Building Code acceptable for pools.
Florida Building Code.
Florida Building Code, I forgot. It's not South Florida anymore.
I'll second that again. I'll second the amended motion.
Okay, Roseanne, could you call the roll, please?
Sure. Mayor Hawkins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hannaford,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria.
A question I need to ask, just because if I vote this now, I can
vote no at the next one, right?
Of course you can.
So this is just to go forward, right? Okay, I'll vote to go forward with this. But I would like to have those questions that I asked the attorney to answer.
This ordinance, you ever voted?
Okay,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Samari, what's your vote?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
To have it go forward, yes.
Motion passed 5-0. Thank you.
okay. Ordinance 2021-08, demolition permits, first reading. Ed.
Excuse me. An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending section 16.3 building permits of chapter 16 permits and certificates of the Biscayne Park Land Development Code to require approved building permits for a new dwelling before a demolition permit is approved to demolish an existing dwelling, to replace the term South Florida Building Code to the applicable building code, which is the Florida Building Code, providing for inclusion in the code and scrivener's errors, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Is there any public comments on ordinance 2021-08, demolition permits? Go ahead. Speak loud.
Okay.
Good.
There you go.
I just had a comment, which actually relates to somebody on the phone that made a similar comment. It's important because I think the case could arise that somebody wants to demolish a property and turn it into a green space. Somebody buys a double lot or something like that, and we're kind of forcing them to have a plan for a dwelling. So I don't know if to specify that it's a dwelling or if it's a dwelling or landscape plan instead of forcing it to be a dwelling. That was my only point.
Thank you. Are there any other comments on 2021-08? Okay. Any commissioners want to speak on this?
Well, we need a motion first. I'll make a motion to pass the ordinance.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Kennedy, seconded by Vice Mayor
May I go first
Hamilberg.
on this one?
Go ahead.
Real quickly, Valerie, I meant to send you an email about.
Unmute myself. We're making this change. Do we need to change the language of 18.5.2 from and or to or? Because the way it reads now is you're required to have a demo permit and or building permit. We're requiring just one or the other. So should we change I know it's a silly little thing, but when I read the whole thing, it jumped out at me. Maybe you don't have to answer that right now, but maybe you want to look at that for second reading. 18.5.2.
Yeah, I have to get there. Give me a second. But I did look at it before, and it was my understanding that we did not need to amend it. But give me a second.
Because the demo permit will already require a building permit. So to say and or seems like it's not quite right, because to have the demo permit, you have to have a building permit already. So it's not an and or, it's or. And I'm very well likely wrong, but I had to bring it up. While she's looking at that, so she looks like she's ready.
Yeah, no, it can be maintained as and or, because what this section specifically provides is that under no circumstances can a temporary construction fence permit be issued until a demolition permit. And in this case, because of what we just drafted, you cannot get a demolition permit unless you get a building permit. But this also provides that if you just get a building permit, you still need the construction fence.
So
Right,
and or is
so it
correct.
addresses both scenarios.
Got it. Thank you very much. Okay, one other thing in here. Elsewhere in this 16.3.2. So when we're updating something, I read the entire section just to see if there's something else we should be looking at while we're in there. 16.3.2, it sets an amount of $100 to for the amount of materials to trigger a building permit. So it says that if you're doing regular maintenance or repairs, that if the maintenance or repair either changes the occupancy of the building, meaning it changes the number of bedrooms, or includes materials that cost more than $100, you're required to get a permit. That means if I want to paint my living room and I have to buy $100 worth of paint, I have to get a permit. Because the way it reads says, if the materials cost. Right, I know, but that's what it says in there, and apparently we do stick to that. But what does the language say exactly? 11.6.3, is that what I said? Let me pull it up here. 16.3.2, when they were close.
No permits required for general maintenance that cost less than $100.
Right. So if you spend more than $100 on materials, you've got to pull a permit. Well, there's not a lot. You trip to Home Depot, it's hard to get out of there with a couple bags of mulch and a can of paint for less than $100.
I'm sorry, Ed, from my understanding, if they are not changing the occupancy and the value does not exceed $100, then they wouldn't need a general maintenance permit. So this section, what it's saying is if you're not adding another room or taking a room away and the overall job is over $100, that's when you would need the permit. But if you're not changing the occupancy, then you do not need a permit. So if you just want to paint a room, you can paint the room. You don't need a permit for that.
I don't think that's right.
Valerie, when we say demolition, we're not talking about a full demolition. I mean, it could just be a room, something that.
No, the way it's currently drafted, which the direction that was given was if you
Full
demolish
demolition,
full
the
demo,
entire thing.
that you can no longer have a vacant lot.
Yes.
Because the
Okay.
whole idea was you don't want vacant lots, and the reason was because you wanted to have a taxable value.
Right.
And so the direction was that it only applies to entire demolition, not to partial.
Does it say that?
It
Yes.
does.
How is that worded?
Which would result in a vacant lot.
Oh, true.
You know, then he brings up a good
Yeah,
point.
he does.
Bob Anderson brings up a good point.
Right.
That they can demolish half the house.
It's not a vacant lot anymore. It's not a vacant lot.
But that's what we don't want to do. We'd rather have a vacant lot than to have a partially vacant lot with a dangerous, like we've
Listen,
got on Sixth and on Fifth.
let's not kid ourselves. Just because we have them pull a permit to build something doesn't mean that they're going to build it. They could take years to build it, just renewing it and renew it. The idea for us was, let's try to at least encourage them to build, because all we get in taxes here are from residential homes. We don't have anything else. So an empty lot doesn't bring what a home brings, right? So that was always the intent. It doesn't mean that it's going to always happen, but at least you're not knocking down homes with nothing, with no plan, with no. But I also kind of like, the idea that Bob mentioned that, what happens when you only demolish a portion of the house, and then what?
Like 6.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe it should just be any demo.
I think it should be any demo, that they have to have a plan to do something with it.
It's, yeah, because I guess this shell on 6th Avenue would be an example of that. That is not a full demo. That is a partial demo. They left some walls up.
Mm-hmm.
Valerie, is that what does a full demo mean? I mean, if they leave a wall up, is it a partial demo? Really, if they leave like a wall up, that's a partial demo. Yeah. That's how they get around it.
Isn't there something in the code that if you leave certain amount of walls up, it helps on your tax base?
Yep, but they're leaving it and not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
So,
Do we want to amend 2021-08?
All demolition.
All demolition? Okay, is there any other comments on this, or can we?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Commissioner Samaria.
To me, for them to get this questions that they must answer. There's two questions that they must answer. What are they planning
Questions
to
that
do
they
with the
must answer.
property
There's two questions that they
after
must.
they get to demolition?
After they get to demolition.
If the owner intends to build it.
If the owner intends to build
You should have.
Build it, you should have a year. I don't like this echo. We should have a year to present his plans. If he says he wants to leave it green, to me, that should be acceptable because I don't think we have a right to toad. I just think that we're going, I understand the concept that we want to raise revenue. I understand that. But I don't think we have a right to tell people what they can do with their property. If their property is not kept up, according to code, then we can go after them for code. But to me, if a person can't, you don't know if a person, when he does the demolition now, is going to be able to afford it right now to do it. So if he's willing to tell us that he's planning on building on it, then I would like to give him a year. That's acceptable. But if he plans on to leaving it green and then later on wants to build on it, I don't think there should be any time limit.
What you said, because I understand what you're saying.
Go ahead.
But if you're saying he wants to tear it down, but then he's not sure what he wants to do, then why is he tearing it down?
Because he could be tearing it down to possibly maybe want to sell it in the future. Like giving an example of came in here and she sold her property and she wanted to, so she was selling part of it. I think a person should be able to.
That was a whole different case. That was a whole different example.
Well, but this is the same thing. He might want to tear it down and have a green and later on plant it. I don't think we should be forcing him right away to do it. If he wants to leave a green just to make his yard bigger, then we can't. No, we don't have a right.
I don't know why they'd want to demo it except they don't want to pay taxes on it. The only reason they would demo it and not do something, and wait a year or whatever, is because they don't want to pay taxes on it. And if you go back to 62, I think you could, that one sentence can be read two different ways depending on sort of how you read it. And I think maybe I see what you're saying, but if you read it, there's no permit shall be required for general maintenance or repairs that do not change the occupancy and the value of which does not exist. I read it as two separate things. See what I'm saying? It's poor wording, and you're reading it as for general maintenance or repairs, which do those two things together, and then the qualifier is after it. It's bad wording, and it can be read both ways. See what I'm saying? And it's the word which is not the best word to use there. The word that would be better, and then some punctuation and some wording there would just tighten it up, because it really does look like if you're doing repairs that don't change the occupancy and don't exceed $100. So if that's how it's going to be, I think that amount needs to be changed significantly to like $1,000, like to $1,000. If you can't get out of Home Depot for $100 for nothing, you couldn't paint 2 rooms in your house. Yeah, you couldn't paint another question, Mario.
Mario, I know that you mentioned that every time we change an ordinance, there's a cost to that, right?
Yeah, we're doing it now. Correct, sir. It's approximately $1,400 per ordinance.
So every time we change an ordinance, it's a $1,400 bill, right?
Yes, sir.
So then the question is, would it be a good idea for the fine part of it, to put it in a resolution instead of having it in the ordinance, in case we decide we want to put it up, put it down, move it all around?
I know typically in other cities, they have the fees are done through a master schedule, which is voted on a yearly basis. I'll defer to legal as to whether code fines is allowed to be part of that or not. I'm not sure.
I think code has to be by ordinance under statutes. Okay, the amounts of fines have to be in ordinances, not in resolutions. The standard is what the village manager just said, is that fees, because they change on a regular basis, are done by reso. So you don't, number one is it's immediate. You don't have to have 2 readings. And number 2 is there's no cost associated with publishing for a resolution. So
Instead, what do we have now? $250, right, a day for the for a violation?
Well, not for this.
Oh, that was the one before. Okay,
That was for pools.
Okay, so this is what do we have a fine for this one?
No, because you can't obtain a building permit or
Gotcha.
a demo permit without.
Okay, so
getting-
yeah, okay.
One thing I'd mention though is we can't waive the provisions of the Florida Building Code. So if the Florida Building Code requires a permit for certain work, we can't subvert that. You know, for example, if they say all work, you know, that's electrical in nature. It doesn't matter how much it costs, you still got to get a permit. So I just want to make sure we all understand that we can't subvert the Florida Building Code by reducing or increasing the thresholds for when a permit's required and when it's not required. I'm sorry, I don't have that information right now, but we can certainly do it.
And you have that for the next one.
Oh, look, we don't have to address that. I just threw that in there because I read it and I saw that and I'm like, oh, that's crazy. $100 buying something back then. It doesn't end in one.
What we've done in other jurisdictions is to say that you still have to get a permit, but there's no fee involved based upon certain levels. But that's right.
Okay, do we want to amend that?
Honestly, they should just take out 16.3 period.
I understand, this is saying.
Yeah, so I'd like to have that conversation.
Do you want to delete 16.3.2?
No. I was just thinking, I'm just gonna I put it in there as a conversation for us to have, and I think we should probably just end it every. Okay. You guys think about it?
Right, but
Okay, so regarding the demo now, full or partial demo, what would that look like, Valerie?
You have to think about it.
I think we just take out that one.
Yeah, we would just have to remove where it says which results in a vacant lot and put.
What paragraph is that?
So we're looking at 16.3.6.
Page 2.
So page 2 of the ordinance, if you look at the second line, which would result in a vacant lot. So that would have to be removed.
Would do.
So let me, how I would read would, no demolition permit shall be issued for the demolition of an existing dwelling or any portion thereof on a parcel. And then we would remove which would result in a vacant lot. Right. Yeah.
Commissioner, my only concern on that change is if someone wants to demolish a shed or a detached garage, obviously it's still not a vacant lot or anything, but we're saying,
It says a dwell.
are we saying that you're not allowed to get it without some kind of construction plan then? If they have no intent to do anything?
It doesn't apply to accessory structures. It says a dwelling.
Okay.
So if someone wanted to, they had a secondary structure they wanted to remove from the property and not replace it, we would allow them to do that.
That would not be
Without
covered.
building.
Right. But without building, we would allow them to demolish a freestanding garage and not replace it. This is not a dwelling. So we're dwelling in there, makes all of that. We're talking about a house removed, a domicile removed from the property.
Madam Mayor.
Or a portion of it.
Just want to be sure I understand.
Just want to be sure I
According to
understand.
this, we're saying that they have
According to
have
this,
a
we're saying that they have to have a demolition and they have to get a permit to, can't leave the lot empty, right?
No.
No, it's saying that they have to build on it, right?
I'm saying you have to get a building permit.
They have to build something on it.
You can't compel them to build, but you can require that they get a building permit.
Okay, yeah, I have no problem with requiring them to get a building permit, but
okay, are we changing this motion or are we passing it the way it is?
I mean,
I want to get into the problem.
I want to get into the Florida code.
Yeah. Okay, may I amend my motion, Jenny?
Yes.
like to amend it to pass the ordinance with changes to paragraph 16.3.6 to allow it, to not allow a partial demo. The wording you just described.
No partial demo.
That the requirement that it is creating a vacant lot is removed.
Right. And I think you seconded that, Commissioner Gonzalez? Do you second the?
Hold on, Valerie, it's a question.
Okay.
Okay.
If I may, so I think if I understand it correctly, then the ordinance would be approved with the following amendment, that the demolition, that the requirement that a building permit be obtained in order to get a demolition permit applies to demolition as well as partial demolitions. Correct.
Okay, Roseanne, you want to call the roll with the amended motion?
We just have to get the permit.
Excuse me, we're taking a vote.
Mayor Malcolm,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hannaford,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Yep.
Commissioner Samari.
Commissioner Samari?
Okay, I'll vote to go forward. I still have problems with this.
Okay, I'll vote to go forward, but I still have,
Voting yes or no?
He voted yes.
I'm voting yes to go forward.
Okay. Ordinance 2021-09, fence cutouts, first reading. Ed?
An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending section 11.6, fences, walls, and hedges of chapter 11, accessory structures of the Biscayne Park Land Development Code to repeal subsection B of section 11.6.1 regarding the temporary storage of trash and garbage containers, providing for inclusion into the code in scrivener's errors, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Madam Mayor, if I may, this was actually brought to our attention by Mr. Hartung, and I believe the planning board also recommended it. Because of the new solid waste agreement that we have coming, that this provision is no longer required. No. No, we're eliminating that requirement because it's no longer necessary.
Okay. Are there any public comments on ordinance 2021-09? Okay, any comments? We need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Vice Mayor Hammelberg made the motion, and we need a second. Okay, is there any discussion? Anybody want to discuss
I have a
this?
discussion on the item, but I wanted to just thank you. This is what we get when we really accomplish bringing people on the board to volunteer for us. To help us with that. So thank you guys for listening.
Okay, we're ready for a vote on this. Roseanne?
Mayor Malcolm,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hannaford,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy.
Yes.
Commissioner Samari.
yes.
Are you paying?
Ordinance 2021-10, correcting building code references. First reading. Ed?
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending section 1.14 of chapter 1, general provisions of the Biscayne Park Code of Ordinances to replace the term South Florida Building Code to the applicable building code, which is the Florida Building Code, and to replace the term Metro-Dade to the correct county name of Miami-Dade, amending section 5.7 of chapter 5, cable television system of the Biscayne Park Code of Ordinances to replace the term South Florida Building Code to the applicable building code, which is the Florida Building Code, amending section 11.5 of chapter 11, accessory structures, and sections 16.4, 16.7, and 16.9 of chapter 16, permits and certificates of the Biscayne Park Land Development Code to replace the term South Florida Building Code to the applicable building code, which is the Florida Building Code, providing for inclusion in the code and scrivener's errors, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. As you can see, this is really just cleanup language to change the various outdated names of the South Florida Building Code and Metro-Dade.
Thank you, Ed. Is there any public comments? No, okay. Can we have a motion on this? 2021.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Vice Mayor Hammelberg made a motion. Can we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Kennedy seconded. Any discussion? Is there any discussion on this? Commissioner Kennedy?
No.
Commissioner, no? No? Commissioner Samaria?
No.
Okay, can you call a roll call vote? Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria,
Yes.
motion passed 5-0.
It's 12A, right? I hope I know what I just voted on. What did I vote on, Griffin? Oh, that's the one you like. You had no problem with that. Okay.
It's passed. Okay, resolution 2021-38, reinstating, selecting, and appointing board members to the Ecology Board.
Shit. Excuse me.
Thank you. A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, approving the reestablishment, selection, and appointment of members to the Ecology Board, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Shall we go right into a vote? And we're going to vote. Sorry?
Need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we reinstate the Ecology Board and vote on the applicants that are on the agenda this evening.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Gonzalez. Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's,
We're each going to simply list our choices, number 1 through number 7, and let Roseanne rank them and tell us who the selections are.
in order of our preferences, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
You don't have to say that here's one I want to be the alternate, just list all 7 in order.
what'd you say, I'm sorry?
We don't have, no one needs to mention who they think the alternate should be, just list your
No, there's
choices
no,
1 through 7.
we don't
And
get
Matt does it
involved.
for us.
Okay,
No, just name people in the order you want, all 7. Just say 7 names in a row in your order of preference. Don't use the word alternate when you do it.
okay, am I first, Roseanne?
Yes, please.
Okay, Alexander Bernhardt, number 1, Geronimo Rosario, number 2, Kate Davis, number 3, William Aiken, number 4, and Daniela Cabanero, 5. Hmm?
You can say the last one.
Maybe 2 more.
You keep going.
Maybe 2 more.
Okay. I thought Manuel Abba and Alex Madeira.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
I ask you to sit in for a second because I can't find my list.
11A.
And I didn't want to.
There's the names.
Okay.
Oh, you got that, okay.
All right, I'll go. Number 1, William Aiken. Number 2, Geronimo Pizarro. Number 3, Kate Davis. Number 4, Alexander Bernhardt. Number 5, Danielle Carbonera. Number 6, Alex Medina. And number 7, Manuel Alba.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Alexander, Geronimo, Kate,
I'm sorry.
Alexander, Geronimo, Kate, William, Danielle, Manuel, Alex.
You get confused
with the reverb.
Let me get
Yeah.
in first.
Geronimo, Alex Medina, Will, Danielle, and Manuel.
Commissioner Samari?
Take Alexander, 1. Pizarro, number 2. Kate, number 3. William, number 4. Daniel, number 5. And Daniel, number 6. And Alex, number 7.
I just want to again thank everybody who volunteered to be on the board, who applied to be on the board. This village is very lucky to have people volunteer the way they do. And I have to say that looking at this list of applicants, it's just amazing to me how we are able to tap into such. This village is very lucky to have people volunteer. And I have to say that looking at this list of applicants, qualified and people, I could be on the board. We're so lucky to have people like this, people who are qualified to be on Parks and Parkways the way they are, and for compliance and community, arts and everywhere. So I just want to say thanks again. We're really excited about getting you guys to work. Now, while I was, this was my idea, my project back then, before we did it, and I have to say, started the conversation with Kate about graduating 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And so while I was thinking about this, bringing to you guys, I just spread on my computer quality ideas. Anything that popped in my mind, I got it. And as I started talking to the residents, started talking to these folks, as I started to interview them, they told me more ideas. I just brainstormed my place with anybody who was talking to me about ecology, and kind of things that I see happen in the village. And put them all down in a spreadsheet. Today I emailed them to Roseanne, she got to attach it to the agenda today. So if you look at the agenda, you'll see my backup items on that we approved to be put on. That will be the ecology board. It's very clearly not my direction to anybody on the board. I just accumulated a list of ideas. And so all the commissioners are really welcome to do that.
Do we have that yet?
Yes. First, with the 8, I mean, I have to clarify that I have the 8 lower numbers are selected first. So with 8 points, Alexander Bernard, second, Geronimo Pizarro. Third, Kate Davis. Fourth, Philip Aiden. Fifth, Danielle Carbonera. And the two alternates are tied up. Seven is Manuel Alba and Alex Madeja.
Okay. Congratulations, I hope. Okay, resolution 2021-39, approving DBS purchase and waiving competitive. Ed?
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, waiving competitive bidding procedures pursuant to Section 2-139 of the Village's Code of Ordinances, authorizing the village manager to enter into an agreement with Digital Video Systems, Inc. for audio-video equipment and installation. Attached hereto is Attachment A in an amount not to exceed $13,079, providing for an effective date.
Mayor, if I may.
Okay, Mario?
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting, I promise you, I did not do anything to further this item. I think I need to put that on the record. Since December, the audio and the video and the system that we have here is not adequate. It's been Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. Every month there is something different that does not want to work. And so I've come to the conclusion that we just need to update the entire system and start over. I reached out to the city managers throughout Miami-Dade County. Many of them recommended digital audio systems. I listed a few of the cities that they've worked for in the past. The reason why I'm asking for approval of waiving of competitive bidding, I'm trying to get this accomplished before the next commission meeting. So here in the month of July, going through the procedure for $13,000, not only would we be expending even more resources, but it would add anywhere between 2 to 3 months to this process. And I don't think we can continue to do this. The process that we would have in place with the new system would allow for microphones to be in front that are not wireless, and they're meant for conferences. It's meant for someone speaking at a dais type, not a microphone like what we have in the podium that allows to attract ambient noise, which then when we do live streaming creates echoes and issues for those who are viewing. Apart from that, it would install a new software system so that we can have proper visuals. Right now, each of us have our own computer or iPad or something in front so that we can be in front of Zoom. This would allow for cameras to be installed without drilling into the beams here. They would install multiple cameras, one to be able to face the public and the podium, one for the dais, in that there would be preset views in which 2 or 3 of the members on the dais would appear on the screen so that you can follow the conversation that's going back and forth. Again, this is allowing us to move this forward quickly, and the cost is not outrageous. I got multiple quotes on this. One other vendor was essentially close to $15,000, and in their quote didn't even have the cost of labor for it. It was just for equipment. And so I'm presenting this to you with hopefully giving us the final solution to the problems that are plaguing us. Additionally, where in the budget, because this is not a budgeted item. So the line item digitalization, that is a line item that is used with the intent of hiring a company to come in and try to scan all the building plans and all the files that we have stored both at the rec center and here at Village Hall into a digital format. With less than, with 3 months left in the fiscal year, we're not going to be able to use that money. It's not going to be possible to bring somebody in and to go through that type of procurement for something that's going to be above 15,000. I think in the budget item, we have a $20,000 line item there. So I'd like to use those funds to be able to solve this issue that we have in front of us. The vendor has come on their own time to take a look at the log cabin, see what's going on, and to start preparing any type of engineering documents even prior to them being awarded, because they want to make sure it's done right. I will mention one city that they've worked with, the city of Miami Lakes back in 2003. Miami Lakes has been the pioneer in this type of engagement, this type of public access. They've been doing live streaming. They were the first in the state, as a matter of fact, to allow public comment and live streaming within there. And everybody's essentially been trying to play catch up. Everyone caught up because of COVID. This is the company that put them there. We would have to have someone in the back room, in the corner, trained to be able to produce, and I put that in air quotes because it's not a real producer, but to produce the meeting. In other words, being able to go from one view to the next to follow the conversation and be able to view that for the community. But it should allow us to eliminate the need to have a computer in front of us so that the community can see us when we're talking. So that's the intent here, and I hope I have your support. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can we have a motion on that?
Can I ask a question, Mario?
When you get a motion.
Then I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve.
2021-39.
Yeah. Make a motion to approve 2021-29, approving DFS.
Okay.
Waiving.
Who's second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Vice Mayor Hamilton.
Okay,
Okay, for discussion?
Need to be managing the conversation through the cameras. Is our staff going to be able to do that? Be able to be trained for that?
I will be working. I'd like to staffers. We know her as Lizzie, and she's well versed when it comes to technology and everything that we've had in the village. She's also a village resident, so she's not too far away. So I'd probably work with her to see if she's willing to do that, as well as maybe have at least one other backup to be able to do that.
Great, thanks.
No problem.
Okay, Commissioner Samaria?
The only question I have, this would be we'll be able to follow the ADA compliance, right, on everything that we do here.
The ADA compliance is being done through auto captioning on YouTube. We're not doing any type of manual captions.
So if we're using YouTube, what about Zoom? Yeah, Zoom has it. That's right. Yeah, Zoom has it. Never mind.
Okay, Commissioner Gonzalez? Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. So look, I have been very vocally
in support of this for a long time. So I'm thrilled Mario making steps and getting this for us. We're very late. This was a problem before you arrived on the scene here. I'm unmuted. I'm looking at myself. Okay. So yes, I'm very much in support of this change taking place. And I'm fine with you taking out of that portion of the budget, because I know that's not going to get spent this year anyway. We have 3 months left in a fiscal year, and you're not going to spend that digitization money on anything. Are you, Mario? Is anything in the works on that? No?
Not for this fiscal year, sir.
No, yeah, so I mean, it's gonna dump into the general fund anyway. I do take a bit of an issue with not having it out to competitive bid, and not that I'm not happy with what you did, but you, in the item, you provided the language from our charter, I guess, about how that works. And if I read that, I don't see that it meets the threshold, because it says, in order to obtain goods and services which cannot be acquired through the normal purchasing process, due to insufficient time, the nature of the goods and services or other factors, I don't see that it meets the threshold. Look, this is extremely urgent and we are way late on this. But what we're doing here is giving the manager the authority to override the system that we have in place and just go out and hire someone to do it when our charter very clearly says there are provisions for that. And I don't see that it meets it. So as much as I want to say, Mario, please fix this, I'm saying Mario, please fix it since December 1st. You know, I'm kind of stuck there because that's what our responsibility in this is the oversight on things like this. And I don't see that it meets the threshold because there is sufficient time for him to do it, and there's nothing regarding the nature of what he's getting that makes the threshold for me. So I take issue with that. Now, all that having been said, we also didn't get to see the other estimates that you turned down. We only saw the one that you took. So not that I think you made anything up there, but all we see is what you want us to let you run with without seeing anything else. So if I had seen the other ones, it might have helped me get there a little better. I'm just kind of uncomfortable with it because that's our function in this, is to provide that kind of oversight. Now, I have a couple of questions about if this gets approved, Mario, and I read the entire thing. I ran down through it. It says regarding the goosenecks, there aren't enough goosenecks for everyone that's sitting on the dais now, let alone any backups. So that estimate didn't seem to have enough microphones. I don't have it up in front of me, but we have what, 9 people on here, 8 people, whatever. It didn't have enough for any extras even. And you see how many microphones go bad. So if microphones start going bad during a meeting, you're not going to have any backups either. So it's something you might want to consider. Is any training going to need to be provided to staff, and are they doing that? Will they be here to hold our hands? Is there a warranty on this equipment? Are we just buying stuff and it starts going bad? What kind of a guarantee or warranty do we have on this? This isn't a huge amount of money, I know, but for Biscayne Park, it is kind of a huge amount of money. So I want to know what kind of guarantees you have. I looked in there, I didn't see anything about that. I don't know if any of this requires permits, but if a resident would be required to have a permit to do this work, then I think the village needs to make sure we get permits and do it the right way. Then I thought back to Judy's request from a couple of meetings ago for the cameras at Village Hall. I have no idea if you've moved forward with that, and I thought maybe that was something that could be combined with this if it's a kind of company that does the same kind of work and maybe get you a better package or something. I don't know. But to wrap it up, I don't see that it meets the threshold. I understand why you want to do it, and I feel it's a very urgent thing, and God knows I want this fixed. But I have a problem with that part of it. That if we're doing our jobs the way we're supposed to, it doesn't quite make it.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Move for a vote on 2021-39 as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No. Mario, since you got approved, can you find out about warranties and guarantees and all that? I hate for us to spend this money and all this stuff starts going bad. And there's no guarantee on it. I'm not saying there isn't. You didn't give us any indication that there is. Guys, we really should have made sure that was in there before we just go off and do it. We did.
So Mario, you wanna answer that?
Sure. So as the section says, I think it's in the best interest for the village to move in this fashion, which is why I made the recommendation. The warranty is given by the manufacturer. Usually all, especially electronics, have a year warranty with the manufacturer, and that's what we'll be following through. The cameras on 8 for Village Hall that you requested, that is being done through ADT, our alarm system, so that it has the recordings associated with the alarms and is being followed through with police. They have ordered the equipment, and once that comes in, they'll be able to do the installation. Was there anything else that I was missing, sir?
Okay.
Next item 12. Discussion for Village Code Enforcement by Mario.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is coming back We hadn't had sufficient time to discuss the item in this past several months. Last month we introduced it, but we really had no discussion, and the board requested that I bring it back to make it the first discussion item. Essentially, what is one of the main complaints that has been plaguing that there's a credibility issue, to take the words from Commissioner Gonzalez. There's a credibility issue when it comes to code as to how it's being implemented throughout the entire village, and to make sure that it's being enforced. And so the idea in discussing the issue with residents, one resident brought the idea to my attention. I said, absolutely, that sounds like a good idea. We started talking a little bit more, and this is kind of where I've come up with. We would be separating the village into different sections, is what I'm calling them. They're all about a block or two in length. They're not too great. We would definitely announce prior to coming in, A, to the entire village, hey, we're going to be starting the process, and then B, to the individual streets that code would be in there. So there would be at least 2 notifications prior to code going onto to the street, one on a general, and again, one on a specific street. Then they would go in and be able to take a look at each area for the properties and scrutinize each area to make sure that everybody is addressing these that are easily correctable violations, right? We're talking about the overall overgrown grass and shrubbery, dilapidated vehicles, improper storage of boats and RVs, parking on unapproved surfaces, dirty roofs, landscaping, swale maintenance, and other common citations as listed. And I put all the codes within the exhibit down. So that way, as we continue to go through, it's almost as if we're catching the village up on the enforcement. We're also taking away that concern and that credibility concern that you're targeting my home while there's 100 other people with the same issues and you're not doing anything about it. It's something that every month the code board, they hear some form of that type of complaint. I know I hear it every single time someone gets a code. They all come to me to see if they can appeal it to me, and that's a common complaint. So I'm trying to be able to bring back that level of credibility, let everybody know, hey, yes, you're going to be scrutinized on your property, but so is everybody else throughout the village. It will take us a little time to get there. This does not prevent code from doing any other type of enforcement. This does not prevent if someone makes a complaint and that is registered and they go out. This is just one aspect to be able to go through and take a look. There are some of these where we'll have a further discussion later today where we might not enforce, so that might affect a little bit. But again, this is just a provision. I don't necessarily need a vote to move this forward, but I thought it was prudent to bring it to the commission because obviously this will cause more violations to come in where you might be getting more of. So I wanted to hear your feedback on these things as well, so that we can all be on the same page when moving forward. The other section within the memo is part of a parallel conversation that goes into with it, which is the reoccupancy certifications. This, from what I can probably tell and what legal can probably tell, various cities essentially adopted almost the exact same wording. This was a way for the village to be able to determine that the property that is being sold is listed correctly with the property appraiser to make sure that we get the appropriate taxable value for the property. If not, then it's just the honor code that someone would self-report the change with the county, or that the county one day will do some type of inspection, which they don't, to be able to figure that out. The difference here and some of the conversation that's been requested is when code does these inspections, the only thing that they're doing, and according to our code right now, they're not allowed to do any other type of code inspection. So the only thing they're doing is verifying it's a house with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and that is basically it. They're not going to go in to check to make sure that everything else is per the code with regards to the roof or the backyard, or that the shed is 5 feet away as per the setbacks or whatever the setbacks may be, or anything like that. So there has been occasions where a new property owner or someone who recently bought the property, now that code is actually going out and enforcing the code, they're like, but wait a minute, I bought the property this way. Well, any property owner assumes the responsibility for that property when they bought it, whether it was within the code or not. So the question is, can code just do a full inspection to make sure that everything is up to it? There are some complications with that. Right now, these inspections are done and they usually take about a business day or so to get everything going, inspected, and then going through. Pushing a full inspection on could create a problem where now, if there is violations, then the person has to go in. They could lose the financing or the sale of the property because they hadn't brought the property up to code at that part. So I believe, and legal, please correct me if I'm wrong, should the commission want to say, you know what, Mario, it's up to the property owner to figure that out when they're going to sell so they can get this type of certification. And, you know, I know a resident mentioned instead of 60 days, have it 90 days. And let's just make sure that everything is good. That is something that can be done, but there are risks in which at one point someone might say, hey, I lost the sale because of this, and there are some risk involved with that, and for you to consider. A resident asked that the reoccupancy certification instead of last longer, right? So if that's something that the commission would want to look into, I know that's bringing something up on legal, you know, momentarily. So that's something they can definitely look into to see what we can put within the code. But again, it's just being able for you to understand where are some of those risks and what was the point of this. To my knowledge, I don't believe this is required by state statute, but this is the step in which the village has taken to try to make sure they're receiving the proper tax for the property that is there. And then the other conversation that came a part of this is, well, what about all of these properties that may have had or built something without a permit? How do we get them into compliance? And so one of the things that I was looking at and discussing was with Miami-Dade County has a amnesty program. And so giving the opportunity to a resident to say, hey, I built this without a permit. I like to make sure that you inspected that it's safety and you know, put everything the way that it should be. This would not, and again, we'd have to build this amnesty program out. So it's not, hey, I'm just going to implement it now. This would be something that has to come back to the commission. But the idea is not to eliminate the variance process. So if something would need a variance, even if they were to come and ask for an amnesty, it wouldn't waive the variance. They'd still have to go through it. This also doesn't guarantee that they would receive a permit closed out or anything like that. It would still be inspected for safety. And if it's a safety concern, then the question is, hey, you might have to tear this down regardless, one way or another. The idea is to allow for a property owner to come into compliance and not feel that if I say something, I'm going to get hit with a major code violation. Now, the code board did discuss this at a recent meeting, and it is part of the backup. It's something that we would work together with a code compliance board, our attorneys, obviously, to be able to come up with a program that would be sufficient for the village if it's something that we wanted to do, which again, there's no guarantee that we would go into that route right now. Anyway, so that's the summary of everything that's there. I know there's a lot of word, but I didn't want to just paraphrase certain parts of the code. So I wanted to make sure I listed everything and gave you all the opportunity to read that in case you had any questions as we look to move forward or any suggestions to improve.
Thank you, Mario. Any comments? Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah, can I go last on this one? I'm really anxious to hear what you guys have to say about this, because I've had lots of conversations with Mario about it over the past couple of months. I'm anxious to hear your input.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Well, I've also had multiple conversations.
I've also had multiple conversations with Mario in regards to this. I think dividing the village into sections and addressing specific things, and then giving the residents notice that it's actually coming. There are a lot of residents that complain about. I mean, I think just a lot complain that they're being picked on, or they feel like they're being looked into when other people are, have the same similar issue or same problem. So I think this is going to at least maybe not eliminate it completely, but help with that issue. So everybody will be treated the same, per section. There's not going to be nobody's going to be able to say, oh, but you didn't, what about the house next door? Well, that one's coming next. So I think that's going to help tremendously. I also like the idea of the amnesty thing, the amnesty program. That's something that, it still needs a lot of work, and we need to really talk through that one. So, obviously that's not something that we're going to be deciding tonight, but I think that's a great idea. That's it.
Okay, I have discussed this at great length with Mario, and I agree with all your suggestions. Vice Mayor Hammelberg, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I discussed it, giving advance warning a week or two in advance with Mario. On mute, sorry. I've discussed with Mario, given a advance a week or two notice as well. So that's something that we've been discussing, and I agree. We need to do something.
Commissioner Samaria?
Yeah, I've met many times with the city manager in reference to this. I like the idea. I think that my biggest concern is, well, first off, he answered the question about when you split it up into two sections, if you see code violations, you're not going to stop the code officer from going into the area. So I like that. But to me, the biggest thing is to get people up to compliance. So as long as we're willing to work with residents on, if we cite them, we give them time to fix their problem. As far as the amnesty, I agree with Commissioner Gonzalez. That's a lot we have to talk about, because I do have problems with the amnesty program. But the biggest for me is that if I understand this means we used to have inspections for people that own duplexes. Are we now saying people are going to have inspections for residents? I mean, people that own their homes?
So we have a landlord permit that requires an inspection. That does not change. Currently in the code, and I think it was in the 1990s, a reoccupancy, and that is done anytime the property is sold or transfers ownership, to make sure that the property still has the 2 bedrooms and the 2 baths or anything like that. And there could be times where all of a sudden we see an additional room or an additional bathroom, and that could create a problem. And so we have to tell them, you have to go and even if they got permits, they would have to go to the Miami-Dade County property appraiser to update the record.
Hearing you at the same time talking. This is basically for when they're going also for their occupation. What I'm saying is that you're not going to basically go into somebody's residence tomorrow and say, we need to do an inspection. This is just for the occupancy, right? Okay, I just want to be sure about that. But I do like the idea of breaking it up into separate section areas. I think we need to get everybody, the village of Biscayne Park, everybody up to code. I don't think any residents would have a problem with that. So I think that this is a good idea. We still have a lot to work. What is the next step that you'll be going for this after? This was just a discussion. Do you have to put this into an ordinance or nothing, resolution?
No, sir. This is how the department functions, and so I could work with code to do that. Again, I don't need the vote to kind of move through it, but I thought it was important enough that we had a discussion here at the commission.
A lot of this we already have in our present code, right? A lot of this we
I'm not
already have in
changing
our
or
present
recommending
code,
we
right?
change anything within the code. This is just listing exactly what's already there.
Okay, Jana, just to let you know that there's no public comments on this. Okay, is there any other discussion on this item?
Yeah, I haven't gone yet, Jen. I'm gonna talk to Art's computer. I'm gonna talk into Art's computer because the internet connection's in here. So look, I'm in the minority here, but I'm gonna speak up because Mario asked to hear our opinion, and Mario and I have had conversations about it. So I am completely in support of getting code compliance up to speed. As long as I've lived in this village 6 years, basically we didn't have it. And then we didn't have it, and then we had weird vindictive code compliance, you know, so I'm all in support of making it better. However, I feel like this is a huge solution to a problem that we don't need to take quite yet. Mario, when I listen to you, I hear you say that there's a credibility issue, and that one of the big things is that people feel like they're being targeted, and that this is your solution for that, correct? I don't see that your solution is going to fix that problem in any way. I think it's a bit naive to think it's going to. Code complaints will never stop. And I'm not even certain this is really going to diminish it, because you're always going to have people saying, but that roof is dirty too. And it doesn't matter that you tell them we're going from zone to zone to zone, because here's what I promise you is going to happen. They're going to go through zone 17 and they're going to cite everybody, and they're going to miss a dirty roof. And then in zone 19, 2 weeks later, they're going to cite a dirty roof. And that person's going to look on the map and say, well, in zone 17, there's a dirty roof. I want to see the citation for that. If you miss something, it's still going to happen. So I don't see that this is the solution. I see that this could be a huge congestion of code at Village Hall, which is barely keeping up with it as it is. And the Code Compliance Board, which has been playing catch up like crazy, doing a great job, by the way. But I just see this as creating a huge congestion. And I hear what your goal is, but I don't see that your solution is going to, that your plan is going to solve it, quite frankly. Biscayne Park is only this big. So to break us up into these little zones, I don't quite see the necessity for it. Now I have a lot of notes here, and I'm not going to read them all because look, we hired Mario to do a job. We're letting him do his job now, but he did ask for our input. So I want to say a couple more things. The reoccupancy inspections. So really, correct me if I'm wrong, but really they are about making sure that everything's correct at the county, so we're collecting the right amount of tax. Yeah, I have a problem. I'm great. I'm fine with that. But I have a problem with the fact that we go in to do reoccupancy inspections, and there could be bare wires hanging out of a wall next to a can of gas, and they can't cite them for that. That probably isn't something they would cite them for anyway. But my point is that there could be serious life safety concerns in those buildings. We have inspectors in there, and they see something, and not only won't they, but they can't, per our, the rules and regs around this place. I have a problem with that, because life safety concerns are a bigger concern for me, or they're a bigger concern for me than counting the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. Because we're talking about life safety. People could die when a house burns down. A building isn't structurally sound. God knows we know that these days, not that we have high rises here. But I take issue with the fact that we send an inspector in, and you're telling us that they count bedrooms and bathrooms, and it takes an entire day for them to do that and go file the paperwork. Because you said it's a day to do a reoccupancy inspection, but all they're doing is counting bedrooms and bathrooms to make sure what's on file at the county is correct. I would like to see some life safety things addressed while they're doing these reoccupancy inspections. I also want, communication is such an ongoing topic for me, and I know communication is part of this, Mario, so I'm glad that you're going to communicate that. But here's where I feel like we are now. We have gone from no code for as long as I've been here. Truly, it's about that bad. And now we're gonna go from here to boom, 180 degrees in the opposite direction. When this village has never communicated to residents that we have code, we mean it, we're gonna do it now. I just think that maybe this plan, Mario, I think could be the second step a year from now. After you get a code department that is still new, get them up and running, get them going after the easy stuff, the aesthetically horrible stuff that makes our streets look like crap, the blighted buildings that are just repeat violators of lots and lots of stuff, and the construction sites. I see those as the big things, a short list of the real aesthetic problems that make this village look like, I almost said shit. The blighted buildings and the construction sites. I think we need a year of that. In my opinion, a communication needs to go out to say, y'all got a couple years off from code. Well, now here we come, and we're letting you know, we're cleaning this place up. It benefits all of us. And we're going to go clean it up. And a year from now, then this could be the detailed stuff that you go through and you really eat it up now. But I just feel like this is way too big for this little village right now. I think a communication needs to go out, and we just need to get the code department functioning at a higher level. God knows they're higher than they were before these new guys showed up. And I also want to know what measures are going to be in place to show us that this worked. Because the only measure I get to see is how long the code compliance agenda is. And it's really long. And I fear for these people, what's about to happen. Now, regarding these, the code amnesty, if you told me, if you told me right now, Mac, you and Dan have, if you said right now, Mac and Dan, you have amnesty, come tell us what you did, I wouldn't even know. I mean, I've gotten permits for everything I thought. Did I buy the house with something that wasn't permitted and wasn't done to code? I don't know. And quite frankly, the village doesn't know either. Because I've been over there in my street file when we first bought the house because we needed some information, and it was a cluster trying to find the information I needed for the roofing company. So I wouldn't even know what to tell you. And you aren't going to see stuff on the inside. So think of all the work. It's not really going to capture all that work anyway. So I hate to pee all over this, because I really do admire that you want to do something and that you listen to people and you thought this through. But in my opinion, this is a huge solution to something that maybe a year from now or even 2 years from now would be a great next step. But I see that there's a whole lot of work to do between now and then. And I quite frankly don't think your little code department is going to be able to keep up with this. And going back to your fundamental goal, I don't think it's going to accomplish it. Because when you come and say, Mac, your roof is dirty, I'm going to go back to the last 4 precincts or whatever we're calling these things, and every roof better be clean, or I'm going to say you're picking on me. And I'm going to say not only you're picking on me, but Linda's roof was dirty and you're showing her favoritism because you didn't pick on her. So I don't see that it's solving the fundamental problem. I respect that you're trying to do it. I really, really do. I just don't think it's, I hope I'm wrong. And I hope this is wildly successful because you're going to do it. But I don't feel really good about this. I just feel like we're in a big mess on our hands.
Okay. You've gotten everybody's comments, Mario. The next item is Commissioner Gonzalez, discussion on public meeting access.
Okay, public meeting access.
So if I just want to.
Do you want me to just read it?
As far as the reoccupancy part of it is concerned that you're concerned about, and I agree with you. And I've had this discussion with Mario about, if our guys are in there and, and life safety issues.
Life safety especially.
I agree. But we also have to keep in mind that when any house is on the market and is actually in the process of getting sold, they all get inspected. And me as the buyer, hire someone to come in and inspect this house from tip top to bottom to make sure there are no issues, right?
Not necessarily. You have the right to do that, but it doesn't always happen.
But when you're paying $500,000 to $1 million for a house, I guarantee you it's happening. Okay, it's happening.
Happens
So,
when I buy a house.
right, exactly. So, I mean, okay, so that, you know, that's the only comfort that I have now. As far as can we add additional things, that's a conversation that we need to have with Mario, because,
And what additional things?
well, I mean, you know, when they go in there for reoccupancy, can they do other things?
To give them a certain list.
But I was indicated that they cannot. That's not currently an
Per our
opportunity.
chart.
Exactly. So that's something that we should revisit. I agree with you. All right. So back to now, where are we with my thing, right? So let me just give me 1 second here. Is that the governor calling you? Okay. So here's the deal with this. Give me 1 second. So as far as public meetings and these video things that we've been doing since COVID and whatnot. So, you know, obviously I believe in giving the residents the ability to attend meetings in person or virtually. It gives more people the opportunity to be involved. I also feel that a number of residents that have gotten, since we've started doing these videos, there's been a lot more resident involvement, right? By using Zoom and whatnot since whole COVID thing started. We have now all of our boards are filled, and I think that's also a direct result of getting more people involved, right? So they're more involved, they see what's going on, and they want to be part of our community. I also know that there's still some residents that are fearful of attending meetings in person. And I don't blame them. So, you know, I think that they should also have an opportunity to be involved. I'd like to give an example. I attended a code compliance meeting, and there was, I believe he was a sergeant in the military, and he was actually deployed. And he actually spoke at the code compliance meeting. And I really firmly believe that had he not been there to speak, it would have gone against him. And yet he was able to attend the meeting, being deployed in our military, and had the opportunity to talk about his situation. And we worked with him, right? So that's just one example of many. If our goal here is to be transparent and to give our residents as much possibility and opportunity to attend and get involved in our local government, we should give them the opportunity to attend in person and or virtually. That is my that's my stance on this.
Okay, Commissioner Kennedy, you have.
Well, when I'm sorry, I'm going to borrow your computer. They don't want to know to hear me.
That's all right.
Okay.
So when I wrote my item, I did not realize that I had done the same thing. So then Mario told me and he said we would put these on the same. So I'm not going to go through everything that I have on my item, and the backup people can read it if they want to. But I agree with Art 100% because it's not just about the minimum requirement, which is, you know, posting a flyer on the bulletin board and letting people know there's a meeting coming up that they can attend at the log cabin. Beyond our legal responsibility, I think we have an ethical responsibility to the residents to not only allow them to engage in every possible way, but to frankly encourage them to do so, because Art brings up a really good point. We're bringing new faces and new voices to this community, and that is important. And we did that at a time when the world was shut down. So at a time when everyone was hiding at home, we were able to bring newness to commission meetings, to board meetings. It's been a blessing. And I think we need to propel that forward and encourage it. So I think we need to do everything we can do. And that goes from making sure things are properly noticed. We've had some issues there as well. Making sure that we communicate in every possible way that meetings are taking place and the content of the meetings, and reach out to people and invite them into meetings. Invite them to come. Please come to our meeting. We're discussing this. Please come. Come introduce yourself to the group. You haven't met everybody.
I think we need to do everything possible that we can do. So my recommendation is, starting with the AV equipment that Mario's going to purchase, that needs to get done. I just want to make sure that if nothing else is accomplished, that not only can people join us virtually, but that they can engage with us virtually. It's not a matter of they can see us and maybe they can hear us. I might have to lean into Art's computer so they can hear me, but they can engage with us at public comment, at hearings of ordinances. We have people here tonight that zoomed in because they wanted to comment on things that we're voting on that are going to become new laws in their community. This isn't a little thing, it's a big thing. And I want them to be able to engage. I want to be able to run into people on the street when I'm walking and say, we're doing these 3 things on Tuesday. Can you come? Well, I can't come, but you can Zoom. If you have a feeling about it, opinion, come in and share your opinion. We need to hear it. We're better as a commission when we hear that. So that's my fundamental concern here, is that people can engage, not sit and listen to us, not watch us. I also want to say that this is an opportunity for us again to discuss how we communicate to the village about what's going on. As a reminder, 16% of this village is on our email list. 16%. About 1/3 of residents are registered on Nextdoor. Whether they're active and read things, I don't know. But about 1/3 of our residents are on Nextdoor. If you just look at the numbers, 16% on our email list. That's embarrassing to me, that that's the best we're doing to reach out and engage with people. So I want to recommend that we do something in advance while they're working on our website, that we make a real concerted effort to collect more resident email addresses for email blasts. I talked to Mario and he thinks, and he was getting ready for the meeting, so I'm sure he didn't look into it yet, but that we can also add a field on our registration on our website for a cell phone so people can sign up for texts as well. But I think it's time for us to make a concerted effort. I think it's time for us to print a door hanger that is put on every single door in this village that says, we want you to engage with us. We invite you, we welcome you, we encourage you. We need to hug these people in and say, oh, and by the way, it's hurricane season. And one of them just barely missed us. Next one may not. It's time for you to register. And here's a QR code. Do you guys all know what a QR code is? Dan, do you know what a QR code is? You know what a you do? Okay, good. I just want to make sure everyone knows, because everyone doesn't know what a QR code is. So it's very easy to make a door hanger, get this message on it with a QR code. You hold your phone up and it takes you straight there and you register. We can also do it with campaign style signs that go in the meetings with a giant QR code. Scan me, register now. The village wants to communicate with you. Guys, I think we are so way beyond past this, and it's time to just do it. So I am begging you to let's ask Mario to do this. And I talked about it with Mario. He liked the QR code idea. I will write it. I will design them. I will give it to Mario. He can make changes, whatever he wants. I do not want to burden this village with this, but I feel very passionately that we need to do this. And there's no reason why we can't do it now, right now. And I will help Mario make sure
this gets done and gets done well, and then I will find an army of people to put these out in medians, the signs in medians, and hang them on doorknobs. So
Okay,
that's what I'm asking for.
any other comments? Commissioner Samaria?
Vice Mayor, you have a comment?
Well, you can go first. Go ahead.
I'd like to, Vice Mayor.
My only comment on the public meetings issue is, who are we going to have for staff, and are we going to need to hire more staff in order to have enough people to run every single meeting that goes on in this village?
It doesn't have to be the staff that's sitting here right now. There are other people that can do it.
Okay, well, then we need to figure out who's going to do it, because the people who are on the committees aren't necessarily going to be qualified to do that or want the responsibility of doing it.
Well, that's not our job. That's Mario's job.
We keep giving Mario more jobs.
Well, yeah, that's his job. So that is his job. He's the village manager. So it's not our job to figure out which employee is going to staff which meeting. It's our job to say we want that to happen, and Mario figures it out, and he comes back to us if he has challenges, and he talks to us about it. But we don't not try to make things better.
Okay, Commissioner Samaria?
Yes. When I was on this committee,
I
still
was
on this commission, on this commission,
on this commission. On this commission, the last commission or the commission before, well, the first one that I got on, I only been on for 3 years. I did live streaming and I had it on Zoom and it was successful, except for the only part it wasn't successful is that the city manager and the mayor did not allow us to serve into the feeder of the log cabin. Otherwise, it would have been successful. I agree with all the commission meetings and boards should have live streaming. It can be done on computer. But I think that the boards should determine on whether or not they want residents to comment. That's up to them. A couple of the board, well, one of the boards that I spoke at the last board that I spoke to wants people to come in. Should be open to the residents to attend in person or streaming for that they cannot attend in person. I do not have a problem with residents during public comments, send an email to the clerk or making comments live. The only thing that I didn't have with my live streaming is that they couldn't do comments publicly because it would have been out of control, people talking. The clerk and the city manager, since we've been in this crisis, has done a good job as far as public comments. It hasn't gotten out of control. So I don't have a problem when we're streaming that the residents be able to, during public comment, open up their mic and speak. We should do live streaming through either Zoom or YouTube. Not only have all commissioners having computers on their desk. I think that we need to get away from that. I mean, you can have computers when you want to look at your work, but I don't think we should be having computers when we're doing Zoom. Just live streaming. It's almost like we're not even noticing that the resident's there, because when we notice that the resident's there, we sometimes, I'm not saying anybody on this commission does it, but showboats, because you're trying to feed into the camera. I think that we need to open it up, and I agree with you, Commissioner Kennedy and Commissioner Gonzalez. We need to really get the residents involved. But there's a reason why residents do not want to give their email, because their emails have been used for other purposes. You can request a freedom of information. You can't turn down somebody. So if let's say I want the email for business, the village can't turn me down for that. Yeah, but no, but you're talking about you're trying to get people to give the email. That's the reason people are not giving the email, is because we even to this village, since I've been here for 12 years, have been trying to collect email from residents, and we used to go to door to door. Yeah, I mean, you know, and one cleaned it out has not been cleaned. I mean, we have people on the email blast that says G for government, and they get an email. So I mean, I agree with you. We need communication is the most important thing, but I think we just need to do live streaming, or the meetings and all the boards. I don't think we need to have where the commissioners have Zoom on here online. I think just live streaming works. I did it in the past, and like I said, the only reason it didn't work was because they didn't want to allow me to attach to the audio in the log cabin. So I think live streaming is all we need, either on YouTube and on Zoom. Allow it to be open for public comments. I agree with that. As long as we can. What do you? But then we use Zoom. So what's it is? Okay, then we use, okay, then forget about YouTube and just use Zoom and have public comments. The key for the only problem I have with using Zoom is opening up the public comments too long. But I think we have already proved through this crisis, that the clerk and the city manager can control that. So I don't have a problem with during public comments that people will be able to comment afterwards. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I don't have a problem, but I just want to do live. I just want live streaming. I just want live streaming. That's all we need.
Well, that's what we're talking about, Dan. So I'm not sure what you're saying that's any different than what we're saying.
No, he just agrees
He
with
just-
us.
he
He's
just
saying he
agreed with
agrees with
you.
us.
Okay, but
What
you're
I'm
saying a lot
saying
of
is-
buts, and I don't.
What I'm
Perfect
saying is,
example, perfect example, we don't have to need to
perfect
be,
example, we don't have to need to
have
be,
Zoom right now with
have Zoom right
commissioners
now with
are looking on
commissioners
computers for
are
Zoom.
looking on the
I'm looking at
computers for
you. I'm
Zoom.
I'm not looking at Zoom. I'm looking
I'm
at
looking
my
at
notes.
you.
I'm looking at a spreadsheet,
Just-
an agenda, a backup.
I know what you're
Just-
saying. I get you. I understand.
Okay, any more discussion on that?
Okay, so what did we just decide then?
We didn't decide anything. I think it's up to Mario, but I happen to.
Having Zooming so we can have public engagement at the meeting. What do you think would be best, Mario?
If the commission would like to continue to receive public comment via Zoom, that is okay. We'll continue to live stream via YouTube, especially because it allows for the auto archiving of the meeting in a cloud base where it's not taking up more and more space within the website. So that's automatically done through there, and they have their own captioning, which will assist with ADA, right? Correct. My concern with Zoom, and we are lucky that we have not received this here at Biscayne Park, but I have witnessed it in multiple cities, is that the way that we operate Zoom, we are at risk from someone, the term used was Zoom bombing. In other words, someone hijacking the meeting, using profanity, saying different things that are disruptive to the meeting, to the point that the municipalities have had to just shut down the meeting and hold the meeting in person with no live streaming or anything like that. So the proper way to help avoid that is by bringing, for public comment, bringing anybody in the waiting room into the meeting. Once public comment is done, pushing everybody from the public back out to the meeting, to the waiting room. The problem with that is if you're in the waiting room, you cannot see the meeting or hear the meeting. So the only way that they'd be able to see the meeting live is through YouTube. And so it's a little bit of a coordination effort. If that's the way we want to kind of move forward, I'm okay with that. It's really whatever the commission is comfortable with. We've survived without a Zoom bomb until now. For me, it's always from a security. For me, it's just a security of when, not if. So it's really up to you. With regards to the QR code and the door hanger, look, we need to find ways to get more people onto the email list. Yes, there's a risk because every time someone puts any of their information into that kind of email database, all of their information becomes public record. We already forfeit a lot of our data and our information freely, but when you put it in someone's face that way, especially from government, there tends to be a hesitation there. But getting the word out, if this commission wants to move forward in that aspect, I think it's a good idea to be able to do some type of door hanger that will allow, and we can start that process now. We don't have to wait, like you mentioned, Commissioner Kennedy. And I am inundated. So any assistance the commission wants to give me on that, then, hey, Mario, just take a look, finalize it. You know, if we got to change something here and there and then, you know, go forward, then I'm more than willing for that type of help. And I appreciate that.
Another thing we talked about is the possibility of anytime we have village events, maybe putting a booth up.
Any kind of village event. Am I muted now?
Now you're okay.
Dear Lord. So yeah, so you know, having booths, village Biscayne Park booths when we do events, and maybe getting people to sign up there and hand out, you know, different things to them that, you know, we can, you know, for more communication purposes.
Absolutely.
So that's something
And
that
we'll have people there to be able to do
that.
that.
Would be
Absolutely.
awesome. That would be a good. That'd be good.
But again, how do we solve the problem with the email blast? I mean, you can't. No, that's not.
Because you're not getting people to give email blasts because the email can be given out by anybody.
A
All they
lot
have
of
to do
people
is a
don't
Freedom of
want their
Information
email
request.
out.
Let's
Well,
bring back all
John-
the people that do want to be engaged and go engage with them and say, please engage with us, and here's why. Dan?
You just answered your own question. How many people do the email blast? And I'm not criticizing you.
This is a conversation. How many people have done the email blast, put their name on for the email blast? No, 15%. How many years is that? Since I've been here for 12 years, we have not had.
No one's ever asked me once to sign up for it.
They do it on the website.
I
They
know
do it on
you
the
can,
website.
but no one said to me, hey, Mac, welcome to Biscayne Park. We're happy to have you here.
We give a.
Here's how you sign up to receive information from this village. And here's the kind of stuff we'll give you. We like you, Mac, and we want you to know what's going on. No one's ever said that, Dan. You go out and ask people, you engage with people, and you talk to them. Stop
You're
putting
you're not the only one that talks with the residents. Every other commissioner talks. So don't be making a comment that you're the only one that cares about residents.
Why are you looking at the big no?
There's not a no, but you have to, there's a problem on why you're not having people sign up for the email blast. That's a simple, there's a problem.
Problem. Then what's the solution to the problem? We should scrap it all together and we should never send an email blast out, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Dan, I understand what you're saying, but I think what Mac is trying to say is that if we put a little effort, maybe we'll get 25%. Maybe we'll, and is it worth the effort to get the 25%? In my opinion, it is. So any amount. So then that's all. Yeah, I understand. I get it. But there
Then
may
go
be
talk to
some,
the next one.
there may be some that you haven't spoken to. You haven't spoken to everybody in this community, and I know I haven't.
Well, this discussion should end. We're gonna do something at the police thing.
Yeah.
And we will have a table there, and we will have papers that people can fill out, and we'll talk to them.
Okay,
And
Mario,
talk it up, and let's see what we're gonna get.
Absolutely. So Mario, you said you'd want some help. I want to help. So let's just talk about this because I don't want to be offering to help behind these people's backs and have anyone get their hackles up about this. What do you guys think if I draft something for a door hanger? I'll send it to Roseanne and Mario, they can send it to you, and we can discuss it at the next commission meeting. And you can make any comments, and it'll be ultimately Mario's thing, but let's just take that away from him. He said he's inundated and he can't get it.
Of course he's inundated. That would be a very good idea. Submit that, and Mario will give us a copy.
Okay, so the
And we
next
would
meeting,
all
can
have
we-
to
can
approve
we
that.
put
It'll come up for the next meeting.
Okay, we'll have a conversation about it and hopefully get it done.
Oh,
Excellent.
okay,
Thank you, thank you,
okay.
thank you. I'll get that done.
Are we finished with that?
No, I think we could talk a little more about it.
Oh, come on. Okay. Okay, Biscayne Park donation to Pelican Harbor. Approval of $2,500 donation to the Pelican Harbor Seabird Stations nonprofit organization. Do we need discussion on that, or?
Well, the only question, Madam Mayor, that I have, how much did we give last year?
Talked about it.
I have absolutely no idea. Did we?
We haven't.
Did we give? We've never given
Never
that.
given to the.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
Yes, we have. given
Yes, we have. We have.
Maybe a long time ago, but not in the
We
recent
have
years.
given to them. We bought tables at their event.
Oh,
We
yes.
have given to
Awesome.
them.
Okay, I don't
do it
remember
again.
any of that while I've been here. Anyhow, do we need discussion, or can we just vote on that? All in favor, say
What
aye.
are we voting on?
We're voting on the $2,500 for the
Oh, yeah, I want to
Pelican
discuss that.
Harbor Seabird. I
We
mean,
would need
that's
a
a
motion.
non-controversial thing.
No,
Can't we
it's not here, it isn't.
Nothing's non-controversial.
We would need a motion and a second.
Can we have a motion?
And a conversation.
I'll
Yes,
make a
let's have a
motion that we
conversation.
give the $2,500 donation.
And I second.
Okay? Is there a discussion, or can we just vote?
Yeah, so if everyone wants to give him $2,500 and give him $2,500, it's not a budgeted thing. And Mario, where are you gonna find it in the budget, $2,500?
We have overruns in other areas within the administration line item that we can use for that with a interdepartment transfer.
Okay, is this something that fine, if this is something we're gonna wanna do every year from them, then can we put this in the budget conversation that we're gonna have here shortly?
It'll
And have it be part of that, because we do other charitable kind of things, and rather than in an ad hoc kind of way be doing this, I'd rather it be budgeted.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, it'll be
The
within the
only
budget.
concern
for
I
you to
have,
discuss.
the only concern I have is what happens if other organizations come to us and do the same thing. So do we have to?
We can say no.
So we can say no.
Okay,
to
we
all
can
the other
say
ones?
no.
Tell them to sign up for an email blast and then we'll see if they.
We'll discuss it some other time.
Injured birds.
Okay, on the motion,
They take care of all injured animals.
does everybody approve?
Aye.
All in favor? Any objections? Pass.
Mayor, can I ask,
I made the motion, Judy Himmelberg seconded it.
This one.
Discussion code changes for driveway permitting.
Okay, so I'm pulling up my item on a Word document because I can't seem to stay in this meeting and can't keep access to the Wi-Fi. It's down again. Is anything coming through my microphone? Are you hearing me?
No.
No?
I hear you because you're right next to me, but.
Yeah.
Hold on a
Screaming in your
second.
ear.
Yeah, hold on. Here you go.
Okay, so this is a really big item, guys, and I want to have it looks like a long presentation that I've put here in front of you, but I really want to try to make this as short a conversation as we possibly can. Here's the long and short of it. We have driveway code. I don't think it's sufficient. I think it needs some work. We asked P&Z to talk about it. They agreed it needs some work. We have had several past commissions try to make changes to our driveway code, and they tried and failed, or they tried and gave up, or they tried and forgot they were trying and just stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
So it's been going on for at least 6 years, and it's time for it to get done. And here's what I'm asking. I'm asking for a commitment from the 5 of us that we will get this done before this calendar year is over. We must just get this done and we can move on to other things. So I'm proposing method and a timeline, proposed timeline, subject to change. You roll with the punches, right? But we need to kind of head towards something, and I would like that something to be completion by November. That's our north. That's our North Star. We're heading to get this thing done at second reading in November based on a schedule that I proposed here. And to get that done, we need 2 things tonight. One is all of us to say, yep, we got it in us, we're going to get this done. And number 2, we start the process tonight by simply having a brainstorming session. No discussion about anything. You guys all saw this on you guys all have these things in your head. I'm assuming you have something in writing in front of you as well. P&Z presented us a document with their suggestions. If you watch the P&Z meeting, you'll see that they also discussed some other things that maybe didn't pass the final vote, but they were discussed, and maybe you want to watch that meeting. It was an interesting conversation they had. They did a great job. They had 2 meetings. Alex, you had 2 meetings about this? Driveways? 2, yeah. 2. So what I'd like to do is first have us all look at each other in the eye and say, yep, we'll get this done. And number 2, right now, just simply say, in addition to what P&Z put on the list, here are the things that I would like to put on the list. No discussion, just get them down. So Roseanne can send them out to us, or I'll sit here maybe describe if you want to while we have a conversation. Get them on a spreadsheet, organize them, send them out to everybody next week. So at the August meeting, it can be on the agenda, and then we can have a substantive conversation about it.
You're talking about having the original and the revised, that we'll get that and we'll work off those?
No, that we just, right now, we have all the backup. Everyone already has all of that. Right now, everyone just kind of make your initial list of, I think we should never allow this and we should require this. Just rattle them off. No conversation. We're not going to debate it now.
Right.
And then it gets sent back to us, and at the next meeting, we can have a substantive conversation, run through them. It'll be nice and organized for us. And at that meeting, you can still say something. You say, you know what, guys, since then I thought about it. I drove around, which I did over the weekend a couple of times just to look, to come up with my, I drove around, I saw something on the list, I didn't understand it. I have questions about it, and we can start that process.
Okay, first of all, does everybody agree that we should by November have this completed?
That's our goal.
The driveway ordinance?
I think we already have a driveway ordinance in 2008. That is a good ordinance, okay, but it was never enforced. So as far as the driveway ordinance, I don't think we need to come up with anything new. We already have a driveway ordinance.
And you think it's fine the way it is?
It's, yes, I do. I think that hasn't been enforced. Now, you're talking about swales, you're talking about the other thing.
I'm sorry, when I say it's driveways, swales, right, all of it. It's all of it.
Driveway, I don't think we.
Parking.
Yeah, the driveway, I think.
All right, we'll work on that and the new one also.
Yeah, we'll just make a list and work.
I brought up at the last, when I was a commissioner, I brought this up in January. We had a workshop. And in the workshop, they described a lot of the stuff that they thought should be done for the driveway. So we had a workshop in January of 2020. Then I think it was March or something that we had a swale. So I think, I hope that's in the backup, right?
2019.
Yeah, 2019, we had a swale. Yeah, we had 2 workshops, so I think we need to look at those 2 workshops.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of good ideas, and then it was brought back to the commission, and then we had to ask the commissioner to try to put in their own stuff.
Right.
So I agree with you, I'd like to get this done by November, but I think that we already have, there's not a lot we need to do, because we do have the ordinance of 2008 that I think is a good ordinance, but it was never.
Okay, so you have very few changes you would suggest.
For this driveway, as well.
Well, it's all of one conversation, so I think it should all be one conversation.
I think that we all have our driveways, so we don't have any ultimate goals of screwing around.
Oh, ulterior motives. Mine's new. Mine's new. So
Okay.
can we all agree, Judy? Can we agree that we'll take a run at this for November? And that'll be our goal to get this done for November?
But I think we're kind of maxing out tonight. I think to have a big discussion of it.
No.
not tonight.
No.
No,
Tonight is just.
finish.
No. Tonight is just list the things that you'd want to edit. I think it should be, and literally just list them. Don't defend them, don't explain them, list them. So the list can be sent to all of us, so we can then have a substantive conversation. If you try to do that in the first conversation, that's the definition of a cluster. That will go on for hours and hours because no one has anything to look at. But if we have 3.5 weeks to look at it, then we can come in and have that good conversation. So right now, it's just, back here are 7 things that I think should be on it. Put them on the list. Great. There's no such thing as a bad idea. There's no debate. There's no explanation. It's truly a brainstorming session. Just make the list. Done.
Right.
Move on.
Okay, does everybody agree that that should be our goal, to try to pass that? I think we all
I
agree.
think so. Okay. Then can we then do that list? Can we just run through and make a list now, just an initial brainstorming list that we can work from?
You said you had some suggestions on swale, right?
Yeah, okay.
And the swale code was rewritten by the code review board, and Gage has those papers.
They did, yes, driveway ordinance 2008, I think is a good ordinance, that's our present ordinance. It's just never been enforced.
Rattle off anything you want to change or add.
Questions that I have, who owns, Mr. Attorney? Who owns this swale? If it's owned by the village, anyone can park on the swale. The only way to stop it is if the police decides that you have been living on, that the car's been on the property too long. I don't think you can stop it. As an example, on Griffin Boulevard, there is, come on, I apologize. There is a property on Griffin Boulevard that is $1.7 million.
Yeah, it's for the village. The purpose of the swale is for commercial and emergency vehicles, and for people to be able to walk on a swale without being hit by a car. Drainage, yeah, and I believe there should be no garden landscaping like bushes, flowers on the swale other than grass. It is the response, and if there's grass, it's the responsibility of the homeowner to maintain the swale. So I think there are some properties in Biscayne Park that have landscaping too close to the street. And I think that's a problem. I mean, to me, that's a major problem. And so yeah. And we also need the kind of surfaces we need to discuss, because P&Z had some ideas on different kind of surfaces, type of parking surfaces. Yeah. Right. And like I say, the grass should be on the swale. I mean, there's a lot of streets, so I think you should have grass, but I don't think there should be any plants or stuff on the swale itself. Okay, no, that's yeah.
Okay, what we did with code review was it was to be staggered so that the closest portion to the street would be grass so that a pedestrian could step on it, or our narrow streets, people could drive on it. But a certain foot back, it would be up and up. With the thought of that was we have some people who have humongous swales. And if we don't allow them to plant, then they're not getting use of a lot of their property. And we had a lot of people who have planted on their swale who were livid about the thought of having to rip things out.
Swale planting, I got it, and staggering out. What else for driveways, rights of way swales?
Nope.
We're good with the whole driveway thing the way it is.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much good with it.
Commissioner Kennedy, just one thing I want to clarify, because just one thing I want to clarify. I'm not saying that there can't be any landscaping on swales, because like you said, some of the swales are big, but I think it needs to be from the street to this thing, a certain distance that you can't have any.
That's what we did.
Yeah. Okay, that's just want to clarify that.
Yeah, I think parking on a swale is necessary. And I think they should look nice.
Oh, no, I think cement and blacktop, although if they have tiles, my swale is grass plus it's pavers.
That's the approach to your driveway.
Yes, correct.
You don't have
Right,
swale parking, that's different, approach is different.
Right, but people park on the grass part. That's
So what
okay.
you're saying is you don't like approved surfaces on swales?
No, I don't like blacktop and I don't like cement. I think it should be grass, but
I got it.
what's your swale?
Grass and mud.
Well,
So
If, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm certainly no swale expert, but if I remember correctly, once there was a certain deterioration of a concrete or
50%.
was it 50%? Then only permeable things were going to be allowed to be put in, correct? They would have to take it out.
It's got to be permeable
That-
for the water.
That was not done.
That was
No,
done.
there's still the 40% rule for impervious and impervious. Yeah.
So for the swale?
Yeah, you can develop 40%. We have a P&Z person here. You can develop 40% of your swale impervious. You can put asphalt, concrete down, something completely impervious that water cannot go through. You can do 40% of your swale right now, correct? You can also do 40% of your entire front yard property.
Yeah, that I know.
Impervious. You can also do 100% of your entire front yard property pervious.
Yes.
100% driveway on your property in gravel, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we have no limitations on that. You could say my entire front yard is a driveway, it's all gravel. Put a border around it and call it a driveway, right?
I've seen that. That's awful.
But you
But I've seen that
wouldn't
in
be.
other jurisdictions.
Yep, you wouldn't be able to not pass it. You wouldn't be able to make up rules at a P&Z meeting.
I think you have to say former. It's not present.
Okay, what else?
Yeah,
So what do you want to know?
I have a huge problem with non-permeable materials being used on swales. And really because now, especially with the ecology board here watching us, is, you know, the
They're
reality
watching.
is that we need drainage.
Yeah.
And that is where the water is supposed to go to get drained off of our streets. And if you have concrete or if you have asphalt, it ain't gonna go nowhere. It's just gonna stay there. And so people are complaining about.
Or it goes back in the road.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
people are complaining about, you know, all this issue with water. And then you go inside the village here and it's, I mean, you see a ton of concrete and cement and asphalt and whatnot. So I think we need to figure out a way to try to eventually work our way away from that and eliminate completely. You know, obviously we're not going to be able to do it from the get-go, but as things deteriorate, if they have, you know,
Yeah.
they got to
When they
take
hit
it
that
out.
deterioration level.
They got to take it out and put
Question. Okay. Do you, Commissioner Kennedy, do you actually believe, do you really believe with all your heart by somebody saying the Pledge of Allegiance is going to bring 3 people to this meeting? Do you actually? Okay, my traditionally, first off, traditionally the Pledge of Allegiance is. Do other cities do that? No, they don't. The other cities don't do that. Okay, well, okay. The point is this: traditionally, no, it's not. No. No, this is about the. Are you going to let me comment? Or are you just going to keep on talking? This has nothing to do with about me. Okay, thank you. Thank you. See, this is one of the reasons people don't come to commission meetings is because of your comments. Listen, yes, it is. Listen very carefully. Yes, it is. Okay, listen carefully. This is done. That draws them off. Okay, listen. My discussion is this. This is Commissioner Kennedy. Can I finish my discussion, please? Thank you. This is basically traditionally the Pledge of Allegiance is led by the mayor. She decides, or whoever the chairperson is, mayor decides who speaks. This has nothing to do with me. I like to have. Commissioner Valage, Clerk, I like to have my comments. Put into record, please. This has nothing to do with me. This means if each of the commission. Okay, fine. Pull your item. Yes. Yes. Each commissioner, dumbass, would have been able to say it. Okay, it wasn't about me.